see a larger pier on the horizon. You're surrounded by journalists. Hold your position.
Overnight success. The Weisenthal 3000. Double blades. Right. That's misinformation.
Marking clearing order inbound.
That's just wrong.
You're surrounded by journalists. Hold your position.
Come, get up. Trust the experts. Vibe coding. We are experts. Founder mode. Vibe coding.
I see multiple journalists on the horizon. Stand by.
Experts.
UAV online.
Blaze. Double blaze. Triple blaze. Double kill. Vibe code. Wrong. Talk is up. Blaze.
Team deathmatch.
We are experts. Triple blaze. That's just wrong. Right.
Marking clearing order inbound.
Come, get up.
You're surrounded by journalists. Hold your position.
Strike one. Strike two. Activate Golden Retriever mode. Trust the experts.
Marking clearing order inbound.
Vibe coded.
I see multiple journalists on the horizon. Stand by.
You're watching TBPN. Yeah. Today is Thursday, January 22nd, 2026. We are live from the TBPN Trough, the Temple of Technology, the Trough of Technology, the Fortress of Finance, the Capital
of Capital.
Ramp.com, time is money, save both. Easy use corporate cards, bill pay, accounting, and a whole lot more. Thank you again to Ara Karazian for coming on the show yesterday, breaking it down for us. That was a lot of fun.
And thank you to Mark Benioff.
Benioff. We have
Or-
acquired a one of one.
Yeah,
Truly. He
sending
says
us a
aloha.
One of one, Master of Puppets, record, signed by Hawaii resident.
He was
Mark
keeping us
Benioff.
guessing. When we had him on the show, we were like, can you send that to us? And he was like, no way.
It's incredible.
We
Look at
broke
this
him
thing.
down.
Look at this thing.
We got it.
This is going in the business Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Here.
The Museum of Business.
Museum
at
of
the TBPN
Business.
Ultradome.
That's right.
Let's pull up the linear run of show. Meet the system for modern software development. 70% of enterprise workspaces on Linear are using agents, and you should be too. We're going to take you through the story, talk about Davos, talk about a whole bunch of news in the timeline. Then we have Keller from Zipline coming on, Jake from Railway. Joe Weisenthal is returning.
That's right.
We're very excited to get a whole bunch of updates.
I mean,
from
look
him
at
on
the
economy.
range here today.
We're going with
Look at the range here.
Coldhealing. The Exanon is
Exanon's
coming on.
Cathie Wood.
Cathie Wood's coming
Jon
on.
Caramanica.
Jon is coming on.
Brother
We have a
Joe.
great time. So
Jake announcing a big round.
first, Davos is winding down. We're finally getting like the final, surprise guest. Elon is the big one.
Elon had to come in.
He had to come in.
Last buzzer beater gesture match.
How do you think that works? Like, how do you think that Elon? Do you think he just has like an open invite and then he makes the call like a few hours before and just says, "Oh, it's going well. I'll be there," and then they just throw him on? Or do you think he said yes a week ago and then
I think
he said,
Elon.
"But don't announce
I think
it.
Elon
Don't
calls
announce
up
it."
J. Cal.
Yeah.
And says, "Hey, save me a seat."
Save me a seat.
And then
That could be it.
They
That
figured
could
out
be
from
it.
there.
Okay.
I think when you're tracking to be the world's first teen air,
You got
they
an
kind of have
open
like
invite.
they
Standing
just have a
invite.
stage
Yeah.
kind of set up.
Yeah.
Say come.
Apparently,
everyone.
the events go really, really long. Some of the interviews go at 10 p.m. Some start. It's like a full tilt across multiple event spaces. There's different houses. All In was doing something at the Freedom House. They had a really cool interview with Satya Nadella that I watched. Tech was out in full force, and that's what I wrote about today in the TBPN newsletter. Before we go through a little bit of this, let me tell you about Vanta. Automate compliance and security. Vanta is the leading AI trust management platform. So, fun fact. Davos makes $500 million a year in
Whoa.
revenue. You think of yes, Tyler's clapping. It's good news. It's a nonprofit, an NGO, a think tank. But you thinking what I'm thinking, Jordy? For-profit conversion.
That's right.
Let's make it happen.
That's right.
Let's make it happen. It's a old organization. Klaus Schwab, who you probably know as the face of it, he was the founder. He started Davos in 1971, the World Economic Forum. It was called.
And he was
something
pushed
different.
out last year.
Yeah, so it's been on the ropes. My thesis is that Davos is back. It was a really good year. I think tech is going to double down on this. But the first decade, it just sounded like it was an amazing party. One person in 1981 told Time magazine that the forum offers a delightful vacation on the expense account. What a great line. Time was really doing great reporting. Also, Time owned by Mark Benioff, friend of the show. So it's been a rough decade for Davos. Liz Hoffman teased the concept of an inverse Davos index in Semaphore, which I thought was sort of funny. And she sort of wrapped up a few times when the consensus at Davos wound up being like woefully wrong. And so she went through a few things. First was that everyone got together at Davos. There was an economist who went on stage in 2008 and said, "It is inconceivable, repeat, inconceivable, to get a world recession." It's like the one thing, like not mincing words, not hedging at all, just like my prediction is that we will never see a world recession. And then, of course, we did. The Davos crew, they also missed Brexit and the rise of MAGA. And then in 2020, they had a forum that the Davos in 2020, it's always in January. In 2020, it was January 21st to 24th. And there was really no talk of a global pandemic or being worried about that. There was one panel about sort of risks from antibiotics or something, but they certainly weren't talking about the coronavirus. And just a week later, Balaji posted that famous going viral post on January 30th saying like, "Hey, I'm tracking this. I've been tracking this for a while, and this seems really serious." And a lot of people in tech were already tracking it. So there was this disconnect between like you go to Davos and you hear like the number one thing this year is the metaverse. Apparently they did a big metaverse push. And then the year plays out and it's a wildly different story.
Yeah.
I personally stand behind the idea of Davos in the metaverse. I would love all of the global elites coming together to create the ultimate VR skill simulator.
Has anybody built the World Economic Forum in Roblox.
They
or
should.
Minecraft, something like that. One-to-one replica.
Yeah, it would be good. There's been a bunch of interesting behind-the-scenes videos because obviously the big tentpole media groups, Bloomberg is there, CNBC is there, but then there's also a few just folks I follow on Instagram who went and are doing sort of walk and talk vlogs, and that honestly gives you more of the lay of the land, what it's like getting around. Pretty interesting. But before I continue, let me tell you about Console. Console builds AI agents that automate 70% of IT, HR, and finance support, giving employees instant resolution for access requests and password resets. So
it seems like they're maybe moving the internet. I certainly wouldn't say the internet has forgotten about the iconic line, "You'll own nothing and be happy."
Yeah.
But I haven't seen it so much over the last week. A lot more focus on.
Yeah, it's interesting. That line was all about just financialization and was really.
I like to think it was about enterprise software.
Yes.
Hey,
we're moving away from box software.
Exactly.
To SaaS.
You're going to own nothing.
Yeah, you don't
but you're going to be happy.
this particular version of Turbo Puffer. You pay for consumption.
Exactly.
That's what it was about. Anyway,
Exactly.
Turbo Puffer of serverless vector and full text search, built from first principles and object storage, fast, 10x cheaper, and extremely scalable. This year feels like a big turnaround. Dario Amodei, Demis Hassabis, Satya Nadella, all their interviews have been going viral on the timeline. In California, there's been a bunch of articles written about what they've said at Davos, and there hasn't necessarily been a huge reversal in the positions of these tech leaders. They're saying things that they've been saying for a year or two, sometimes more, but there's some feeling when you say a line like we could have 20% unemployment in 2 years, it just sounds different when you say it directly to a bunch of world leaders, a bunch of global elites, a bunch of international executives, than when you say it on a tech podcast that's a little more insidery, a little more inside baseball. So it just hits different, and then it's also an interesting reflection to hear the Satya Nadella All In interview had an interesting almost high-low aspect to it, where Satya was talking about very specific details of Copilot implementation, what the future of the workstation could look like, whether people will be running, sidecar
He's a product
GPUs.
guy.
Yeah, so he's going in a lot of detail there, and then he's also zooming out and reiterating what he told other business leaders just about the general wave of AI adoption that's still pretty early on the global stage. And so it's felt like there's two different conferences going on. We've read this take from a couple different people, where tech leaders are talking about research progress, employment impacts, sovereign AI, data center buildouts, and then the politicians are talking about Greenland, Venezuela, and trade deals. But even though there's this bifurcated vibe going on, it still feels like a win-win because the tech industry is getting their messages into the global stage now, where in an audience that will ultimately determine how quickly this technology rolls out and how it will be regulated. And I imagine that the tech industry is driving a lot of growth for the World Economic Forum because every company, you've seen the Palantir House, there's a lot of different tech companies that have really gone big on sponsorship, gone big on their presence, and I imagine this will get bigger. OpenAI was sort of notably absent, or not absent, but didn't take over the stage, and you would imagine that next year, given the vibes around this one, that there will be more of a presence from basically all the big tech companies.
No, we had an opportunity to have a presence there, and we didn't think that it fully made sense for this year, just given historical
travel and stuff.
Travel was a big factor, but
I did like the fact that Demis and Dario presented this friendly and cooperative united front for what American AI progress looks like. It was particularly in stark contrast to last week when there was this incredibly messy AI drama, the opposite of cooperation between Elon and Sam Altman. And so last week we were like, oh, no one
or
can
between
work
Thinking
together.
Machines and
OpenAI
with the talent mix up.
That's been a big drama story, and then you see Demis and Dario sort of hanging out, talking about how friendly they are and how much they want to work together, and it feels a little bit like Faith in Humanity restored. It really captures the spirit of this global cooperation, which I think is good. And so I think Davos is back. I think it's time to ski, and congratulations to everyone that's been having fun and making waves in Davos. There's a whole bunch of videos that we should go through. First, let me tell you about Okta. Okta helps you assign every AI agent a trusted identity, so you get the power of AI without the risk. Secure every agent, secure any agent. Did you want to watch this clip from Midnight Capital? Jensen
Pull it up.
Wong is Midnight Capital. He's given us some instructions. He says, or they say, listen to this, then watch the second video.
And this host over at Fox Business has given us a run for our money in the costume department.
Maria Bartiromo knows how to dress. This is a fantastic outfit. Let's play Jensen Wong in
trying to
Davos.
compete. Is the space getting more competitive for you today?
Our space is incredibly competitive. I've got a lot of competitors. It's hard
Google came out of nowhere?
It's hard to imagine. You know, Google has been here for a while, and they're excellent AI company for a very long time, and they're an incredible company. But we have competition from all sides.
And
well, we just have to run fast. You know, NVIDIA is the only.
you're doing and trying to compete.
And
Is
then
this
Midnight Capital says, watch the
You
second
know a
video.
company has an insane monopoly if they're trying to convince
Okay,
you that
I think that's where we're going with this. So you're giving away the punchline. Play the teal clip at the London School of Economics.
Oh, I didn't even know we had
You
a
scroll down, it's right
Okay,
here.
okay.
This is the whole 1-2 punch that Midnight Capital's serving up for us. Here we
The
go.
people who have monopolies pretend not to have them, and the people who don't have monopolies pretend to have them. And so it gets kind of confusing. If you're Google, you will never say that you're a search engine. You will say you're a technology company, and technology is a vast, incredibly competitive space. If you're in a completely competitive business, let's say you're trying to open a restaurant in London, and you will say, well, this is totally different from any other restaurant. It will be the only British, Nepalese fusion cuisine within a 5-block radius of the LSE. The people who have monopolies pretend not to have them, and the people who don't have monopolies.
This is a very,
I
very
studied.
good point.
I studied.
Yeah, Jensen studied and said, you know what, I'm incredible. It's incredibly competitive. Of course, he's also going through an acquisition with Grok, and it's not. It seems like the Grok deal will go through, but
It's like I have so much competition, I had to spend $20 billion on a team.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, please define my market as also including CPU and also including ASICs and also including like everything else that could possibly compete with NVIDIA.
Yeah,
because
the Journal had a
we
good
want-
summary of kind of
Yeah.
some of Jensen's points of view
Yeah, what'd he say?
out of Davos. NVIDIA CEO says AI needs more investment in defiance of bubble fears.
Yeah.
Jensen called for higher investments to further spread the technology across developed and emerging economies. Speaking in Davos, Huang described AI as a 5-layer cake consisting of energy, chips, cloud infrastructure, models, and application. He said AI's applications, how the technology is used in a specific industry, is the most critical layer of that cake, as it is where the economic benefits lie. Sectors like energy or semis, both key to developing and harnessing the technology, are already growing thanks to AI. But he said more investments are needed to ensure that benefits of the technology spread to more industries across both developed and emerging economies. The AI bubble comes about because the investments are large, and the investments are large because we have to build the infrastructure necessary for all of the AI layers. I think the opportunity is really quite extraordinary, and everybody ought to get involved.
Everybody.
It's open for business, folks.
Yeah. On the topic of just do we need more investment? There was an interesting detail in the TSMC earnings this week that Ben Thompson highlighted. Basically, TSMC, they had this earnings call, and they announced the planned capital expenditure of $52 billion to $56 billion, up 27 to 37% from last year. And there was some pushback from an analyst. So I'm not sure that coming in at the top of the predicted range qualifies as, quote, higher level of CapEx spending. An analyst pushed CEO CC Wei on this point, noting that TSMC's revenue has grown 50% since 2022, but CapEx has only grown 10%. There weren't too many answers from TSMC about this, which is understandable, given that they won't announce next year's CapEx numbers until next quarter. And so Ben is sort of pointing out that TSMC is potentially the biggest bottleneck bottleneck. TSMC has reiterated this, that we're not bottlenecked on energy, we're bottlenecked on chip production. We're going to scale up, but at the same time, they don't want to be caught holding the bag. So Ben Thompson says, the implication of cloud service providers showing huge financial gains from AI now, combined with the admission that there is an insufficient supply of silicon, is that foregone revenue isn't a theoretical risk, it's being foregone right now. And you've heard this from all the labs. If we had more chips, we could actually deliver more services, charge more, make more money. We are bottlenecked on compute. And yet, at the same time, notice that Wei led his answer admitting to his fear. TSMC doesn't want to get stuck holding the bag, spending billions of dollars for demand that might disappear. This is a legitimate concern for TSMC, but it's a big problem for TSMC's customers. The only way they're going to overcome that fear is by helping bring competition to bear, such that TSMC worries more about losing business than they do about investing too much. And so who will be the competition? Maybe it's Intel, maybe Samsung. There's a number of other foundries that could potentially ramp up and put the screws to TSMC. But the NVIDIA TPU, not Grok, but Cerebras, and a few other of the chip makers are all sort of still constrained by TSMC. Yep. And so there's still some worry that if we don't expand just raw fab capacity, that will be a bottleneck for AI. But anyway, before we move on, let me tell you about Gusto, the unified platform for payroll, benefits, and HR, built to evolve with modern small and medium-sized businesses. Let's go to, who is this? We have a clip here from, well, Philip Johnson's having fun at Davos. But before we do that, let's head over to David Phillips. Me defending my vibe-coded CRM I made in one shot with GPT-4o.
Sometimes it's too slow, for sure. And needs to be reformed, for sure. But which is predictable, loyal. Sometimes
that's a great loyal.
He's on one right now.
I love it. What was the story behind the glasses? I saw some meme that I think he suffered an injury or something, and some people would say do an eye patch, but he went with the sunglasses. It's fantastic.
Like a rock star.
Yeah, he looks like a rock star. Elon Musk has hit the timeline on Davos.
I love how Philip is just like
in the front row
with his phone camera.
It's incredible citizen journalism here. Let's play this clip from Elon Musk at Davos. What's he saying? Why did he go to Davos? What is his message? What is he going to talk about?
Is that the lowest cost place to put AI will be space, and that'll be true within 2 years, maybe three at the latest.
So looking 10 or 20 years out, how would you describe success with AI?
3 at the latest.
3 at the latest. That's an aggressive timeline for that. Blue Origin launched satellite internet to rival SpaceX and specifically to rival Starlink. Bezos-backed Blue Origin is launching a satellite network for enterprise data center and government customers, TerraWave. The company aims to begin deploying the first of 5,408 satellites in the fourth quarter of 2027, so a little under 2 years. The service will compete with Starlink, and it will also compete with Amazon-operated Leo, which is interesting. I guess they'll maybe work together at some point. The network called TerraWave is targeted for enterprise, data center, and government users. The company said it will provide speeds of up to 6 terabits per second from satellites positioned in Leo and medium Earth orbit. Regions of space that are between 100 miles and 21,000 miles from Earth's surface. Blue Origin says it expects deploying the constellation in the fourth quarter of 2027. Bezos is entering an increasingly crowded satellite internet market that's currently dominated by Starlink. Starlink has more than 9,000 satellites in orbit and roughly 9 million customers. Amazon, which Bezos founded in 1994, has also ramped up its own offering. That service recently rebranded from Project Kuiper to Leo. The company has set up 180 satellites since last April through a series of rocket launches handled by partners such as ULA and actually SpaceX. Several future deployments are expected to be handled by Blue Origin. Amazon aims to build a constellation of 3,236 low Earth satellites that will serve business, governments, and consumers. Last November, the company opened up an enterprise preview to select users ahead of a broader commercial launch. Bezos predicted in 2024 that Blue Origin would one day be a bigger company than Amazon. That's a wild prediction. He founded Blue Origin in 2000, and Dave Limp, Amazon's former device boss, serves as its CEO. Quote, I think it's going to be the best business I've ever been involved in, but it's going to take a while. He said at DealBook in 2024. Blue Origin is primarily a rocket launch company flying tourists and research to the edge of space on short trips. Last January, the startup notched a major milestone when it successfully launched its towering New Glenn rocket for the first time, though it was unable to return the rocket booster back to a barge for reuse. They nailed the landing of the New Glenn rocket last November, following a successful launch of a pair of NASA spacecraft. So good progress over there at Blue Origin.
We got to do some more research on the Chinese Starlink equivalents. They have Guowang, which is their like state-led effort, trying to get to 13,000 satellites by 2030. Currently, they have around 150, and then there's Qianfan, which currently has around 100. Also trying to get they're trying to get to 15,000 by 2030, and they're more commercial focused. So it'd be interesting to track.
And you would think that the Blue Origin news, the news that that Starlink has a second competitor, Blue Origin, Jeff Bezos, major players. Well, what does that do for AST Space Mobile? The stock is up 14% today, and it's up 24% over the last 5 days, 35% over the last month, and 100%
AST Space Mobile can't keep going. There's no way.
Over the last 6 months. It's at all-time highs. It is at all-time highs. And the market cap is now $42 billion. I have some friends who are obsessed with AST Space Mobile, and fascinating run. They keep running. Anyway, moving on. Elon also gave some timelines for Optimus humanoid robots at the World Economic Forum. He said, by the end of next year, we will be selling humanoid robots to the public, not just enterprises. You're going to be able to just buy one of these the way you buy a Cybertruck or a Model S Plaid or anything else. That is a very, very aggressive timeline, but he has been buying the parts to actually manufacture them. And a lot of what does selling to the public mean? Does it mean 1,000 deliveries, 10,000 deliveries? I don't know, but he's definitely pushing that project forward.
Having an Optimus that is just on staff here that can just go hit, like if I can hit a button and have the Optimus hit the gong physically, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, priceless, really.
Yeah, priceless. Yeah. There's really no amount of money that we wouldn't pay to be able to get that kind of experience here in the Ultradome.
I'm excited. I mean, we've seen Boston Dynamics. We've seen with the Chinese humanoid companies. There's you can do cool things with these, with 1X and whatnot, even if it's teleoperated, even if it's prescripted. The technology does work. It's more just how impactful will it be? How expensive is it? How reliable is it? Is the battery 1 hour or more?
Has he spoken about teleoperation?
No, I don't.
Seems like he'd just be generally against it.
Yeah, I mean,
on principle.
I know that don't the Tesla robotaxis do some teleoperation? I think in the test zones there was the ability to take over on that early demo. So I don't think he's dogmatic about it, but he certainly is. If you're against LiDAR, you got to be against.
Tragically Sane says robots replacing humans hitting the gong. Okay, never mind. Shut it down.
I'm full Luddite now.
Don't worry. Yeah. That will be the last job.
That will be
in the studio. It's hitting the gong.
Let's move on to this clip from Satya Nadella at the All-In AI Summit in Davos. First, let me tell you about Vibe.co, where D2C brands, B2B startups, and AI companies advertise on streaming TV, pick channels, target audiences, and measure sales, just like on Meta. So. Let's play this clip from Satya Nadella explaining how he's thinking about computing.
Jobs had the best line, I would say, for PCs or computers was to say, it's a bicycle for the mind. Bill had a line which I liked as well, which was, it's information at your fingertips. We kind of need now a new concept, metaphor, for how we use computers in the AI age. And
you have one?
And the one I like actually came from the CEO of Notion, which I like, that manager of...
Incredible product.
Yeah.
You haven't bought it yet.
But it's both management of, basically a manager of infinite minds. That's a nice way to think about it, right? If you remember, Jobs had the best line, I would say, for PCs. So
the manager of infinite minds. That is that is a good framing. I like that. And it's nice that.
How many minds are you managing, Tyler?
Right now?
Right now, it's probably like 4, because I have every LLM. Like,
Okay.
Actively running.
You got to get those numbers up.
Yeah, I'm not. I've never really used multiple Claude instances yet.
Okay. Yeah. But yeah, good framing and good to see. Yeah, it's interesting. Like the manager of infinite minds concept. Obviously, that essay from Ivan, CEO of Notion, it went viral over the holidays. I think a lot of people in tech read it, but it did not necessarily break through to like the Davos community. And so, having Satya Nadella there just further popularized that concept, bake it down into a repeatable phrase that can prepare people for what's coming. Adapt, that is valuable, and that's what we're seeing here. Anyway,
it'll feel like you're playing StarCraft now.
Yes, I like the StarCraft
Managing
analogy.
the StarCraft analogy is real.
Infinite
Zerg
units.
army. Let's pull up this video that was posted by the New York Times Popcast. Jon Caramanica posted this video yesterday. Somebody sent it to me. Actually, Leaf at Public sent it to me.
Yeah.
And I was so confused because there's only about 100 of these rugbies out in the world.
Yeah.
And we kind of knew like everybody on the team like kind of sent them out.
Yeah.
So I first thought this video was AI generated.
It did, and it's about AI. So let's play the video.
And I think we maybe don't want to do sound.
Okay, so yeah, it's about Bruno Mars, and if we I don't know if we can scroll back to the beginning. Is that possible on Instagram Reels? If you repost, but yeah, if you zoom in here, he's dancing, and the dancing, this part, I was like, maybe this part's AI, but then when he sits down, you can see that he has a microphone, a lav mic clipped to his collar, and so. Everything about this says this is not AI generated. This is real, and the hand motions are so accurate, and they're occluding.
And he just looks extremely cool.
Yeah, it's great. And so he goes on to talk, and we're going to have him on the show later.
Anyway, so Dylan messaged Jon, and we figure out that Jon accidentally purchased fake TBPN merch online.
Be careful there.
But at least he's still looking great.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it works.
Silver lining.
But yeah, I mean, our saga to battle the fraudulent merch, the knockoff merch, has been incredible. This site popped up, and we assumed, okay, they're not going to take payments. Certainly, they're definitely not going to print and ship anything, and we'll be able to get this taken down in 2 seconds. And I actually sent them an email saying like, hey. Hey, like, I assume you're a fan, like, just so you know, like, we don't want this out there. Like, I'd be happy to talk to you about maybe working together or something, but can you please just not use our brand and our trademarks and all this stuff out there on the internet without talking to us first? Like, let's have a conversation about this. Did not get a response.
Not a fan.
And I think some other people on the team were like, yeah, Jon, that was never going to work. And they were right. And
you tried to go golden retriever mode.
I did. I was like, I'm just gonna assume the best. I'm just gonna assume this is an overeager fan or someone who just is entrepreneurial kid who's just trying to just make
this is
happen.
a Canadian. We know it's a Canadian.
We know it's
This is a Canadian.
Yeah. Anything could happen up there.
We need to put
Dodd
out
in
like
the chat says, you guys have a good line to Shopify. I assume most of them are hosted there. No, it's not hosted on Shopify.
It's not. And at one point,
we've already gotten them taken down from
a number of platforms where we know the
services.
CEOs, and we'll say, hey, we have this fake site. Can you take this down? They will. And they'll pop up on a different site. And so it's been a true game of whack-a-mole. We've sent a number of demand letters at this point. We've really pushed it a lot, but they keep finding a way. And at this point, they are, in fact, taking people's money and shipping fake product now and fooling people that are discerning.
And apparently it smells kind of funny. Which is a big, which is an issue.
Okay.
The real merch is coming. The real merch is coming.
We do have
we've been
partnership with
sampling
Shopify,
a bunch of different stuff.
Of course, Shopify.
We need to put out like a Maduro style bounty.
Put a stack on there. Shopify, of course, is the commerce platform that grows with your business and lets you sell in seconds, online, in store, on mobile, on social, on marketplaces, and now with AI agents.
Trey says Mark Carney is selling fake TBPN merch. Crazy.
he saw your post about his
cortisol spiking.
Yeah, his cortisol spiking, and he was like, you know what? I'm not doing anything about this. Canadians, it's
really concerning the number of people that didn't understand that my post was a joke.
You're very online and you're very early to a lot of these things. You were trying to make Aura happen back like over a year
Q1
ago.
of last year.
Didn't happen.
It was flopping.
It took a long time. Then you tried to make Motion happen. I still think people are just waking up to Motion. This will happen, but you gotta let it simmer. I mean, I've seen this multiple times.
But I just the idea of like processing Davos as though it's like a bunch of kick streamers. Like so funny.
It is very funny to look at the aesthetics and the whole kick like clipping economy is crazy. I found one of those clips and then I went and looked at the account and it's like dozens of posts that are the same format where it's like they have a word in all caps and then they have an emoji and then they have this and it's like very sensationalist. It feels like paparazzi on top of a kick stream or something. Very, very odd phenomenon.
The thing that is real is like the drama that's going on at Davos is not that different.
It's not.
You see, Bessent taking shots.
There might be some
Gavin
cortisol
Newsom.
Spikes.
They're definitely spiking each other's cortisol, getting each other to crash out.
I still don't even know what cortisol spiking means. Is it just like getting angry? What does it actually mean?
If you get into any type of verbal, physical altercation,
it's like the fight or flight.
Yeah,
the cortisol floods your brain. It just makes you okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Gets the
private
going.
Credit investors' cortisol has been spiking because they are cashing out in droves. Redemptions by individual investors in funds soared at the end of 2025 after performance declined, reviving questions about suitability. This is from Matt Wers in the Wall Street Journal. He says, for the first time since the start of the private credit boom, large numbers of individual investors are trying to get their money out. Several of the big funds eligible to wealthy individuals received requests from about 5% of shareholders to cash out at the end of last year, well above the normal volume, according to the SEC. One managed by Blue Owl got redemptions for about 15% of its shares. This was something where people were nervous about the data center build out, private credit, the expansion here. Apparently what's driving it primarily was Asian clients asking for redemptions from Blue Owl specifically. The rising redemptions come at an awkward time for private credit fund managers for the Trump administration as they push for new rules that would democratize private markets by encouraging their inclusion in 401k retirement plans for all Americans. Private fund managers, including Apollo Global and Blue Owl, blame fear-mongering about a recent spate of corporate bankruptcies. This is the whole cockroaches back and forth with Jamie Dimon and some of the folks in the private credit world, Blackstone, Apollo, Blue Owl, and because there was an automotive supplier that went bankrupt, First Brands we talked about, and there was a surge of withdrawals. Analysts say there could be a simpler explanation. Individual investors are falling into a familiar pattern of selling out when an asset class underperforms expectations. These investors got really surprised when their dividends went down, said Robert Dodd, an analyst at Raymond James. BDCs, the business development companies, they typically make high-interest loans to mid-sized corporations with junk credit ratings, using the interest income from those loans to pay dividends. A handful of these funds have cut dividends because the yield on their loans are falling in lockstep with benchmark interest rates. For more dividend reductions will follow, Dodd said, likely prompting more redemptions. Total returns from 5 of the largest private credit funds aimed at individual investors declined to an average of about 6.22% in the first 9 months of 2025, compared with 8.76% in the same period 2024. And back in 2023, if you were in these funds, you were making 11.4%. Not bad. Money managed by BDCs has tripled since 2020 to about $450 billion. So there's been a big growth. And the funds still took in more new money from new investors than they paid out in their most recent quarter, a sign that they are still popular among investors and advisors. Let's move on. But first, let me tell you about Phantom Cash. Fund your wallet without exchanges or middlemen and spend with the Phantom card. The Kobayashi letter. Breaking. SpaceX is set to hire Bank of America, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley to lead its IPO. That's a whole host of murderers row. The IPO is expected to be valued as much as $1.5 trillion, making it the largest IPO in history. But the community notes put it in the truth zone because Saudi Aramco's IPO in 2019 sported a valuation of 1.7 trillion. Interesting.
Yeah,
Very
they
different.
raised 25.6 billion.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So, anyways, obviously Elon targeting more than that on an actual dollar basis.
Well, there's other news about Anthropic. The revenue run rate for the end of 2025 was 9 billion, up from 4 billion in July 2025. What incredible growth. Iconic, Lightspeed, and Menlo are set to join the new funding round from TechMeme here and Bloomberg reporting. This is maybe a deceleration. I was debating this with Tyler. I mean, they went from 100 million to 1 billion. They 10x'd. Then they were going to 10x it again. So everyone was expecting 10 billion.
And 10x it again.
And they landed at 9 on run rate.
Yeah, I was trying to find.
I'm seeing deceleration.
Did they predict 10 billion?
I don't know. I actually don't know the exact quote. I think Dario was pretty loose about it. He was just saying that we've seen.
He was saying order of
incredible
magnitude.
Growth. Yeah, he was saying we went a full order of magnitude from 100 to 1 billion. We're going to do a full order of magnitude again. Is it a full order of magnitude to go from 1 to 9?
And he said he only expects
you got a round
3 or 4 more 10x's.
He said that?
No.
No. I specifically remember him saying we cannot keep that level of growth going.
He said he said it would be pretty crazy if that.
Yeah.
I don't think he said we can't.
Oh, okay. He said it would be pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, obviously
he said if that continues, then you're really in the the biggest companies in the world are on that scale.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, at a certain point, there's no company that's doing $1 trillion a year in revenue, and you're only 2 orders of magnitude away from that. So we'll see. But obviously Anthropic's been on a tear, and the new round, it seems to be coming together nicely. There is other news from The Information. Amir says that Anthropic's inference costs on Google and Amazon servers were 23% higher than the company projected. Of course, when you're growing so fast, you're probably willing to pay more for inference just to make sure that everything stays online.
Better to service the demand and not get that frustration.
Yeah.
People hitting rate limits, et cetera.
Yeah, I think later in the summer there's a lot of news about how the Anthropic API is always down. For issues. So
yeah, there was that, and then there were also some FUD type articles about negative gross margins, about margins being really, really bad at these labs. Where's the value accruing? Is it all going to accrue to NVIDIA? Last month, Anthropic projected it would generate around 40% gross margins from selling AI to businesses and application developers. But I think that gross margin came in a little bit lower. But there's so much more that they can do to optimize. They're buying TPUs now. They're going to build new data centers. And also, it does feel like we're going to enter a world where inference is load balanced across a variety of semiconductor stacks, and so for really fast things, you might be going to a Grok or a Cerebras, or you might, for more basic stuff, you might be going to a legacy model that's cheaper to inference, and all of that might be blended together into something that's more profitable. And then also, the dynamic of the equilibrium in the ecosystem could just be higher prices if it's delivering a lot of value. People are really happy with the value that they're getting from these.
And Beth Bezos posted a real picture of Dario yesterday.
True.
That you can pull up here.
Dario Amagdie. The jawline is crazy on this. AI is good.
Claude's going to be able to do this to people one shot.
No, Claude will not. They're not launching an image model. Claude will have
I'm just saying you're going to be able to just talk to Claude and say, turn me into a Mauger.
In real life.
It will,
and it will
orchestrate the jaw implants.
Okay, got it. The double jaw surgery.
Leg lengthening.
Yeah.
Surgeries.
It'll purchase it all for you and just create a schedule for you.
Yeah, call the Waymo to take you to the, the dentist or whatever to do the surgery.
Well, if you're in San Francisco on February 3rd, you need to call a Waymo and head over to the Cisco AI Summit. It's bringing together leaders from NVIDIA, OpenAI, AWS, and more to discuss the future of the AI economy. The whole thing will be live streamed, and we'll be there for a big stream.
Hope to see you there.
Very exciting.
Apparently,
yes.
Google DeepMind is signing a licensing deal. It really is a licensing deal economy that we're in. Last year was the press release economy.
Yeah.
This year, very, very much the licensing deal economy. Hume AI, which builds emotionally intelligent voice interfaces. and they're going to hire CEO Alan Cohen and 7 of their engineers.
Is this the same Ghost Ship story that we've seen so many times before? It's essentially an acquisition. Is that what we're reading this, or
yeah, that's
major licensing?
I mean, the CEO's joining DeepMind. So
I never thought of Google as particularly behind in voice interfaces. It doesn't. I'm wondering what else is going on here. I mean, certainly it's an important part of the stack if you have an app that people are chatting with and talking to. Obviously, Notebook LM was sort of a viral success, but I do really wonder about the longevity and the retention. It feels like they were maybe like, I don't know, 80 or 90% there in terms of people. Maybe it's just a speed thing. Maybe it's the actual cadence. I've talked to some people that
didn't that team leave and start their own
They did.
thing? Yeah.
They did.
And
But I mean,
don't
you
know if
got to
I
be able to backfill that if you're Google and DeepMind. Like, you have a great product with a lot of people talking about Notebook LM very positively. I think a lot of the Notebook LM functionality eventually got baked into the Gemini app, and so, but there still is just. It feels like when you have a latency step where you ask a question, okay, prepare a deep research report and turn it into a podcast and read it to me on the Roman Empire, and you have the option to just go to YouTube and just find a video or pull up hardcore history or something and just listen to it. And as soon as you click, it just starts playing versus you have to wait. That's going to induce churn. That's going to
I always thought Notebook LM was the product that I wanted to cram for college exams.
Yes.
Right?
I
Because
did that.
I remember
My
like
history final.
Yeah.
there's so many moments in college where I was
Yes.
like riding my bike to an exam.
Yes,
and
yes,
being
yes.
like, I could really use these
Yeah.
15 minutes to
No,
learn
no,
about
100%.
something I need to write a paper on or whatever.
But at the same time, for probably 99% of high school exams, the topic is well studied, and there's already like SparkNotes. When I went to high school, like SparkNotes existed, and if you were doing a book report on the Odyssey, there was already a pre-written summary of it. You didn't need an LLM. Like, LLMs are particularly good. Notebook LM is particularly good when you need to generate a report or an essay or a deep dive or a podcast about something that no one has ever made a podcast about before.
Yeah.
But if you're just looking for an hour of really thoughtful content on, peptides, like the Huberman Lab podcast exists and has created a very polished product around that. Opinionated as well, which I think people want. But even just in terms of just facts, like the facts are already polished, and the most important thing is that it's there, just one click to start that video. So I'm sure that a lot of high school students are pulling up YouTube videos that summarize the topics that are going into their calculus exam or whatever they're about to walk into. There's plenty of
you didn't have
materials.
Streaming video on the internet when you were going through college, right? That didn't exist.
A little bit. I mean, it was YouTube. YouTube was there, but the library of YouTube videos.
The catalog value was.
It was truly like, hey, come in this dorm room. Let me show you the 3 YouTube videos that I know about.
Yeah.
Like, it's a great sign of my culture and respect to show you like the greatest YouTube videos that are like viral in my world. Anyway, MongoDB, choose a database built for flexibility and scale with best-in-class embedding models and re-rankers. MongoDB has what you need to build what's next.
More news from Sam Altman.
Oh, yeah.
He shared today we have added more than 1 billion of ARR in the last month just from our API business. People think of us mostly as ChatGPT, but the API team is doing amazing work. So.
That's fantastic. Yeah. I mean, we saw they just did this huge deal with ServiceNow. Like, they're definitely cooking. They've been cooking for a long time. They have an enterprise go-to-market motion that's definitely working and somewhat disconnected from like whatever the hot story of the week is.
People are pretty funny in the comments, going, "Brother, 1 billion of ARR at a 5 billion valuation. You're going to need to make that MRR." Obviously, this person misread the post, which is added 1 billion in the last month.
Okay, yeah. That's pretty good.
So, of course, I would imagine their plan is to continue doing that and actually scale that. But,
yeah. Well,
Bubble Boy is sharing.
I love Bubble Boy, but I do not believe his rumors. I don't go to him for rumors necessarily. But I don't know. A lot of likes on this. Maybe it's real. There's no community note. What's the rumor from Bubble Boy?
The rumor.
Yes.
Google is spinning out the TPU team into a separate entity under Alphabet umbrella to sell hardware to third parties directly.
Okay.
It could happen.
Someone calls it a cross-chain atomic swap. That's funny. Anyway, would they even need to do that? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you can see
Who knows
Waymo. It's like, did they need to raise money at the Waymo level, right? Sometimes it's helpful for a company to have its own
alphabet structuring and how they report out earnings
Yeah.
and whatnot. Anyway, staying in the big tech world, let's head over to Mark Gurman's latest report.
The Gurmanator.
Apple is revamping Siri as a built-in iPhone, Mac, and chatbot to fend off OpenAI. And there's an image here. What is this? The Google Gemini AI chatbot on a Galaxy S25 Ultra smartphone. So Apple plans to revamp Siri later this year by turning the digital assistant into the company's first artificial intelligence chatbot, thrusting the iPhone maker into a generative AI race dominated by OpenAI and Google. The chatbot, codenamed Campos, will be embedded deeply into the iPhone, iPad, and Mac operating systems and replace the current Siri interface, according to people familiar with the plan. Users will be able to summon the new service the same way they open Siri now, by speaking the Siri command or holding down the side button of their iPhone or iPad. The new approach will go well beyond the capabilities of current Siri for even a long-promised update that's coming earlier in 2026. Today,
John, say Siri again really
Yes, to
loudly
really
and
trigger
clearly for
everyone's
anybody that's watching on their
phones right
TV
now,
at home or in their office.
Yeah, the feature is a central piece of Apple's turnaround plan for the AI market, where it has lagged behind Silicon Valley peers. The Apple Intelligence Platform had a rocky rollout in 2024 with features that were underwhelming or slow to arrive. Shares of Apple gained on the chatbot news, climbing as much as 1.7%. The previously promised non-chatbot update to Siri, retaining the current interfaces planned for iOS 26.4, due in the coming months. The idea behind that upgrade is to add features unveiled in 2024, including the ability to analyze on-screen content and tap into personal data. It will also be better at searching the web. The chatbot's capabilities will come later in the year, according to people who asked not to be identified. The company plans to unveil that technology in June at WWDC. Campos, which will have both voice and typing-based models. Tyler, what's that sound like?
Wait.
Typing? You're going to be able to type to Siri back and forth. Oh, nah, let's go.
Wait, can you type to Siri?
No.
Right now, you can't?
I don't.
thought it opens a little, I haven't used
maybe,
Siri
but
in
you don't have an
a
app.
couple years.
You don't have a place to store all your conversations, which was my take.
Okay, cool.
I
But I still care about I still care about the model being implemented way more than I care about being able to type.
Yeah, of course. Like where are, I mean, like the model's going to be good. Like they're using Gemini. We know that. But like what specifically are you looking for on the
Gemmy
implementation
boys.
side? Yeah, Gemmy boys.
Gemmy boys.
Tim Cook's a Gemmy boy. But where are you, what are you worried about them not implementing correctly? Like you want like an agentic harness so it can do like Claude Code style work like for a long time on your phone directly?
Yeah, I don't know. There's just like the current Apple Intelligence is so bad.
Yeah.
I just like have very low like I think there's a real possibility that they just like make it so every time you have to talk to Siri you have to like press an extra button or something. Like there's just like random stuff like that.
Yeah. But what if it's just you press and hold the button, and then you're just submitting a Gemini prompt, and then it just returns exactly what Gemini would have returned? That's like not implementation. That's just like normal.
Yeah, but like why? I mean, they could have already done that.
You
with,
think they might
like an
mess
open
that
source model? They could have done that.
No, they needed a deal. They can't just, Apple can't just go and implement anything. I think it's going to be tricky for them. Like specifically,
But I'm saying,
Llama.
yeah, that would be good.
So specifically, Llama has in the terms of service, like you cannot use this. It's open source unless you have more than like 800 million users or something like that. Like there's some specific carve out for other big tech.
OpenAI trained their open source model for like $5 million. Like Apple could do it for 100 million.
You think so?
Yeah, people
maybe,
always
yeah.
talk about how amazing the open source model is.
Okay, it's way better than the current Apple Intelligence.
That's true. Yeah. Okay.
Like open source models are pretty solid.
So you're saying you want Apple to make the phone with Foxconn and run DeepSeek?
Yeah, come on. They're not doing that. They're not putting DeepSeek on there. Other than the chatbot interface, the operating systems aren't getting big changes this year. Of course, we got liquid glass. So Apple is more focused on improving performance and fixing bugs. Last year, it rolled out a major design overhaul, unifying the look and feel of its operating systems. Internally, Apple is testing the chatbot technology as a standalone Siri app. Let's go. Similar to the ChatGPT and Gemini options available in the App Store, the company doesn't plan to offer that version to customers, though, so we might not get an app. I'm on a roller coaster here. Instead, it will integrate the software across its operating systems like the Siri of today. I still think they need an app because I'm gonna hit it. I'm gonna ask it a question. I'm gonna want to come back to it. How am I gonna do that? So I don't know.
Hey Siri, go back to the recent.
Yeah, maybe, but it's got to be good. Then the implementation has to be good, because even in Gemini and ChatGPT, there are often times when I will fire off a query. It will come back with like thousands of words, and if I search a keyword in the search box of previous chats, I have so many previous chats that I can't necessarily find the exact one that I'm thinking of.
Okay, so one implementation thing that I think is important is like, if it's super long, if the response is super long and it reads it out to you, like you should be able to pause or something like that.
Yeah.
Like in Claude, you can't do that right now.
Yeah, like you can't even fast forward 5.
Like that is an important thing that,
there's all these implementation
that materially
details.
affects like how good it is to use.
Yeah, that's good. Embracing the chatbot approach represents a strategic shift for Apple, which has long downplayed the conversational AI tools popularized by OpenAI, Google, and Microsoft. Executives have argued that users prefer having AI woven directly into features, something Apple has done with its writing tools, Genmoji, emoji generator, and notification summaries, rather than standalone chat experiences. That's not an unreasonable take. Like I do see why they landed there, and in the long term, I wouldn't be surprised if the AI woven in the features, like the AI that's in the Photos app, is better than, okay, I got to open up the chat app and ask it to edit this photo and import the photo from my photo. Like, no, you just want to be able to go into the Photos app, have the change the color temperature, change the brightness, draw on it, add text, and then also have AI features in there, I would imagine. So I am bullish on Apple diffusing AI into all the other apps, but it's taking a while.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, I just hope the team specifically that designed the new version of the Photos app from the ground up takes the lead on Apple Intelligence, because
you're not a fan. It's been getting better. It's not perfect, but it has been getting better. I've been learning how to do it. I know I know the quirks.
Is it getting better, or are you getting better?
I'm getting better. It can't
hold
me back.
It was just a skill.
They
should have just come out and said, "Hey, we hear that you guys don't like the Photo app."
Yeah.
Skill issue.
Billboard campaign.
Skill issue.
Let's do it.
Yeah, just the Apple Photos icon, and then just the text skill issue.
Skill issue. Stop complaining. Anyway, Graphite. It's code review for the age of AI. Graphite helps teams on GitHub ship higher quality software faster. So,
Terminator had more news.
Tell me.
He says just now, Apple quietly gave hardware chief John Ternus oversight over the company's hardware and software design teams at the end of last year, marking the first evidence he is being groomed for the eventual Apple CEO role.
I like Ternus. I'm a Ternus fan. I'm a Ternus head.
And I think
I'm bullish. I hope he gets it. I don't know. It feels like it's still very up in the air, very rumor based, but he's been putting out good vibes. He's been delivering. I don't know. Whoever that source that was, he never made a hard decision. I think he's ready to make a hard decision.
We should start making edits of him talking during Apple keynotes.
Yes, we need to get a Ternus vibe reel up for sure. Prime the pump. Prime the pump. If he doesn't get it, and we've been pumping Ternus and becoming Ternus heads, it would be a big L for us. But we'd see. We'll see. Let's see. We already talked enough about the thinking machines drama. The New York Times is reporting on the internal drama at Thinking Machines now. Who wrote this? Was this from
Mike Isaac?
From Mike Isaac. Ooh, 7-minute article. Okay, defection, secret conversations, deal talks that fizzled, and a battle for control. And the quote from Andrew Kern that he pulls out says, "But in less than a year, Mr. Zof, Mr. Metz, and Mr. Schoenholtz had become deeply unhappy with the startup's direction." I wish they'd unpacked that more. These pieces have not gone deep enough into the nature of the dispute around the technical direction. I would really like more answers there, because what specifically are they unhappy about? Because just the B2B fine tuning that seems like a good business. Like OpenAI is having a lot of success with it. Has thinking machines, is it a go-to-market problem? Has it been implementation problem? Has it been
overall, there's
GPU
nothing
poor?
that kills motivation like having to show up to work every day and believing that the company is moving in the wrong direction.
Sure.
So,
Yeah,
again,
but what specifically?
yeah,
So,
I'm sure the team at OpenAI has maybe a rough idea, and that was again part of what Mira, it sounds like, was frustrated with.
Thinking Machines lagged OpenAI and other rivals in releasing products and was struggling to raise new funding at an eye-popping $50 billion valuation. The men had urged Murati to strike a deal with Meta. The owner of Facebook and Instagram had discussed buying Thinking Machines, and Ms. Murati had developed closer ties with the chief executive of Anthropic, a leading AI company, but no traction had resulted. At the meeting, the men lobbied for Mr. Zof, Thinking Machines chief technology officer, to oversee decisions.
And this is just the strange. This has been.
It's a
one of the
weird
most strange
line.
Parts,
It's a very, very
parts
weird
of it,
line.
which is like, why would the CTO not be overseeing decisions about the company's technical direction? But
I don't know. Maybe job title inflation or something. It happens sometimes. People give funny joke jobs. You give some random intern the chief CIO officer, CIO title, and then
what are you trying to say?
Around. I don't know. I'm just saying that many people might see your title and think that you're the chief information officer or the chief investment officer. And then you might come around and say, hey, why am I not in charge of investments? Why am I not in charge of all the information here? Anyway, Cognition, they are the makers of Devin, the AI software engineer. Crush your backlog with your personal AI engineering team. Elon Musk has essentially confirmed SpaceX is going public this year and will use the funds to build solar panel AI satellites scaling to hundreds of terawatts in 3 years. And Elon Musk replies to Nick. He says, no, the probable case, 50th percentile guess, is reaching an annualized rate of 100 gigawatts a year of space AI satellites launched from Earth in 3 to 4 years. 100 terawatts a year requires manufacturing satellites on the moon at massive scale that are shot into deep space with a mass driver, which is 10 years away. Worth noting that average U.S. electricity consumption is only half a terawatt, so that would mean launching 200 times the current electricity output of Earth.
Nick's response here.
Yeah,
scroll
for
down.
sure. I love that Elon's just like, Nick, you're too bullish on me, dude.
Yeah.
You're too bullish.
Relax.
Let's dial it back. I am going to deliver something incredible very quickly, but it's going to take longer to get to the truly unfathomable scale. Anyway, OpenAI CFO, we could take a cut of customer revenue from AI-aided inventions. Is it fantasy, asks Amir from The Information. Maybe, but scientists have been going gaga for LLMs as idea synthesizers and research collaborators, and OpenAI is actively trying to license proprietary biology/pharma and data for training. AI discoveries. So you would think that this would happen in sort of like a joint venture or some sort of investment. Obviously, OpenAI has the OpenAI Startup Fund, and they have made investments. So there's a world where if they're particularly bullish on a biotech company, they could participate in an early round and then participate in the upside. This is sort of framed as more of like they will just randomly be taking revenue if you sign an enterprise contract. That feels like
really rough headline, but I'm sure they'll like work on clarifying this. Obviously, I saw some people getting really upset about it immediately. Of course, I think it's too early for that. They definitely need to clarify, right? It's like, if you were working on a startup and you use Google search to do some research, and then Google said, Hey,
you know what they should do?
We see your search history. We know that you looked up Restream, John. We know that you wanted to live stream.
Yes.
And we played a pretty big part in that.
That's true. I'll tell you about Restream. One live stream, 30 plus destinations. If you want a multi-stream, go to Restream.com. They should implement tipping. They added $1 billion in enterprise revenue. You get your enterprise API bill. Why not throw a little, turn the iPad around, 15, 20, 25%, throw a little tip in. Why not? Hey, if you cure cancer,
Adding tipping to your consumer SaaS product is a great
enterprise SaaS product.
And enterprise is a great way to test product market fit.
I completely agree. Staying in OpenAI world, Shirin has a scoop here in Bloomberg. Sam Altman met with investors in the United Arab Emirates recently to discuss a new funding round targeting around $50 billion at a $750 to $830 billion valuation. I think the 750 was pre, 830 was maybe post. Talks are early. And
let's give it up for early talks.
Early talks. Well, fortunately, our next guest is beyond the early talks phase. He has some amazing news announcing here today. We have Keller from Zipline in the Restream waiting room. We'll bring him in as soon as I tell you about Sentry. Sentry shows developers what's broken and helps them fix it fast. That's why 150,000 organizations use it to keep their apps working. And without further ado, we will bring in Keller from Zipline out of the Restream waiting room and into the TBPN Ultra Dome. Keller, how are you doing?
There he is.
Hey, you guys, how are you?
Fantastic, but not as good as you. Give us the news. What happened?
So yesterday we had some big announcements. I mean, first of all, the company just raised more than $600 million to fund U.S. and global expansion. Gotta go with the gong. But even cooler, I mean, you guys know, like on X, Zipline is constantly, kind of celebrating how fast the system has been growing. It's been growing about 15% week over week over the last year. But we are finally announcing new metros. So we announced Houston and Phoenix as the metros that we're going to be launching over the next couple months. Cool. And then every quarter that passes now, we'll be announcing new major metros that we're bringing autonomous delivery to. Talk to me about what it takes to launch your metro. Is that the mayor's calling you? You're calling the mayor? Is there a form that you're filling out? Like what's the process? Do you have sales reps going? Do you set up an office? Like, do you do tests? What's involved? And the main thing, this is different. People think of hyperscalers and people adding metros, with some of, the rideshare companies, for example, where you were just hiring people who already live there. I mean, Zipline is building infrastructure in these cities. It looks a little bit more maybe like how Tesla was building superchargers. Like we are actually building superchargers, but for airplanes rather than for cars. And so we're going in, we're building maintenance depots, we're creating a lot of high-paying jobs for both maintenance as well as all the people who are doing community engagement, government affairs, permitting. There's a lot of complexity for each metro that we launch, but the reality is that we're trying to scale. I mean, 15% week over week growth is really hard to keep up with, and so we're trying to add. We'll add multiple metros every quarter as we go here, as we accelerate. What makes for a metro area that's exciting to Zipline? Both of those don't seem very snowy. Is that important? Well, yeah, and I know you're going to be announcing a lot more in the future, but for people listening that are excited to have Zipline in their area, I feel like if you kind of describe the sort of ideal metro, maybe people can kind of start figuring it out. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, we're going to be in every metro in the U.S. in the next couple of years. One thing that we just did that, I was posting some cool stuff on X. We just launched a brand new test site in the Cascades, which is in Oregon. We have a team that is operating there in insane snow, insane ice, insane sleeting conditions, day in and day out. All of Zipline's test sites operate 24/7, by the way. So why are we doing that? We're doing that so that we can be ready by the end of this year to start launching cities in a wide variety of climates across the U.S. and then eventually across the world. So it just takes time to basically validate all the different technology, aircraft, ground infrastructure across these different conditions. And you really want to do it comprehensively and test before you then operate over tens of millions of people's heads. Yeah. What's the hardware life cycle like? Is there a V2, V3 that comes and gets rolled out to all the metros? Is there testing? Like, are there new innovations that are happening deeper in the supply chain that you're excited about implementing? What needs to happen, or what are you excited about on the development of the actual platform? Well, funny you should ask. So basically, right behind me, I'm standing in a new part of the manufacturing facility. Zipline's manufacturing facility tripled in size in the last 2 months. 2 months? This was all nothing. That's amazing. Actually, I don't know, if you realize, but
Yeah.
15%, people don't put it together. We just had a board meeting last week where we started the board meeting by being like, oh yeah, flight volumes and revenue tripled since the last board meeting 3 months ago. So the manufacturing growth is pretty much in line with the business growth. But this space was all empty a month ago. And it is now the new line for our next generation aircraft. It's called EV3. The advantages of this next generation, I mean, right now Zipline is rapidly cycling through hardware, software, plus all the operational improvements we need to make to continue to advance the technology. But the EV3 has a huge number of performance improvements relative to the system that we've been operating over the last year, and it's half the cost. So there's giant steps being made, improvements possible because the technology is so early. It's 12:01 a.m. when it comes to automated logistics. This facility where I'm standing will be capable of building 20,000 aircraft a year. It's the largest autonomous aircraft factory in the United States.
How do you get something like a 50% cost reduction? Is that automation or buying bigger purchase orders deeper in your supply chain, or is there just like a cost curve that's coming down and the price of motors is just dropping and you're just a beneficiary of that? Like what's driving cost savings on the vehicle?
And there are a lot of things. I mean, first of all, the best part is no part, the part that you delete. And we were able to delete a lot of parts on this aircraft relative to the previous version. We've been able to deleting things is the best way to, the most reliable part, the part that never breaks is the one that isn't on the aircraft at all. We've also been able to redesign a lot of parts and fundamental subassemblies on the aircraft to make them easier to manufacture or just less expensive from a component perspective. And then finally, Zipline now has enough scale with a lot of these suppliers that, as you said, you can get much better deals on a lot of these key components. And so all of those things add up to just a vehicle that's significantly less expensive.
Are they also getting quieter over time? I've seen some incredible demos of drone rotors and propellers that they're shaped in a certain way and they're way quieter. Is there progress there? Is that happening in like physics labs and then it gets implemented? Are you doing the research? What's going on acoustically?
So yeah, Zipline, I mean, we've always had this attitude that like this technology can only scale if it is quieter, more serene, for neighborhoods than the traditional delivery mechanisms of cars. And so, Zipline has a big team of aerodynamics engineers and aeroacoustics engineers who have been focusing on this question of like, how do you design something that's really, really quiet for the last 5 years? And by the way, planes aren't like cars where you can just put a muffler on the back of it and make it quieter. Like the design of the aircraft has to be from the ground up made with aeroacoustics in mind. Zipline is, despite the fact that we operate bigger, more complex vehicles, Zipline is 6 times quieter than the next closest competitor when we're making a delivery to someone's home. And we'll actually make significant improvements to the aeroacoustic profile of the vehicle this year. We actually think we're going to get about another 8 decibels of improvement this year, which for non-engineers, think of 8 decibels as being like about half as loud to the human ear. So having, again,
That's awesome. What about congestion as you scale? How much of the routing is proprietary software, maybe on your network, sort of your own flight control, interfacing with more national level flight control, or even just like on the actual drone, just cameras saying, oh, there's some random object over there that I need to steer away from?
I mean, all of these, Zipline has a huge autonomy team that is responsible for not just how these vehicles route themselves to go and make deliveries, how they navigate the physical world, because we're flying at about 400 feet, but also how we detect and avoid other air traffic. And there are many different layers of Zipline's air traffic control. Detect and avoid system. We work closely with air traffic control. We build. We're essentially building in partnership with the FAA a new version. It's called unmanned traffic management, or how you manage thousands, soon to be tens of thousands of vehicles. But in the long run, we're already used to our cities being full of these like loud, dangerous, polluting vehicles, creating tons of traffic, driving around in our neighborhoods. Small 50-pound vehicles that are silent and electric are going to be way better for neighborhoods. They're way less they're less like obtrusive. People generally don't notice them. I mean, we do a lot of deliveries to people's homes where they didn't even realize the delivery happened.
Do you have a timeline for me or you actually getting into an eVTOL and the true flying car vision? Maybe it's not let's say Waymo level adoption of a human in a vertical takeoff and landing, not a helicopter, not a single rotor, not a plane, but something like that. Are we 5 years away from that? Longer? Is there something fundamental? Because this has been something that's been promised and I've been excited about my entire life, and it feels like there's a lot of serious companies working on it, but we're not quite there yet. How are you thinking about that market generally?
I'm also really excited, and it's a question that I'm very interested in.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the technology has made probably faster progress than people realize. Like these, you can build vehicles that are electric, vertical takeoff and landing, fixed wing hybrids that like achieve a lot of the core performance characteristics. I think the two challenges that I would point out, one is on the autonomy side. Like those companies are still putting human pilots in the cockpit, and it's not going to be like Uber if you have to hire an FAA certified pilot to come do your Uber ride to get you to work in the morning. Like doesn't scale. It's a little too expensive.
Yeah.
So I think from an autonomy perspective, who is going to design that autonomy layer? It's always seemed kind of obvious to me that the company that does that is going to do billions of autonomous deliveries delivering non-human things before you want to carry humans. I think humans will be more comfortable with that. The other thing I would kind of point out is a huge part of this actually has to do with like integration, which is like you can totally do the flight. There are vehicles, again, flying those kinds of mission profiles today, but where are you landing? I mean, there are no heliports in cities. They are getting shut down rather than built. And I think that it's all about integration. You know, if you want to design a vehicle that is more than just like an electric version of a helicopter that can do like 20% of missions that a normal helicopter can do. I think if you're really talking about flying car, the key is to solve the integration problem. Like, can you actually get picked up directly from your home and delivered directly to your office for your daily commute? That's the core question.
Yeah.
At what point do you think having a courier feature will make sense? This is top of mind. I left my laptop at home Monday. And I felt that it was super silly that I just I ended up having to like use Uber Courier.
Yeah, and you're using like a huge car for just one little laptop. Yeah.
Made no sense. I was thinking about you guys. It feels like an edge case that's like not really.
It's not a big market.
It's not a big market.
Yeah, what's the thinking around it?
Well, I think you might be surprised. I mean, similar for what I just said, with flying cars, integration is the thing that Zipline is most focused on. We're launching all these amazing new partners. I mean, a lot of the statistics that we're seeing in the cities, if you look at Dallas, I mean, there are municipalities in Dallas where more than 50% of homes are ordering from Zipline. Wow. We had an all-time new record on Sunday. We blew away the previous record by 25%, which had been set a week previously. Yeah. And we had 10% of all homes in a municipality place an order with Zipline on Sunday.
Wow.
was that football? Is that like, does that spike with like football?
It was a holiday weekend, but these are like shocking statistics. I mean, we have, a lot of the restaurants that we serve, Zipline is a huge percentage and a majority of deliveries happening from those restaurants today. And so I think that, the usage is way different than what we were originally expecting. And the key is integration. We want to be able to add so many different, and this is why we announced zipping points. This is really simple, new kind of ground infrastructure that we can install for free next to any partner, whether it's a hospital, health facility, retailer, restaurant, or even eventually someone's home. You can almost just think of it like a new kind of mailbox for autonomous logistics.
Do you think you'll be able to put a camera on them such that you can scan an ID so that you can deliver alcohol?
We will do that. You don't need a camera on the vehicle. What you actually need is you need a camera on the person's phone.
Okay.
That's the way that a lot of this delivery works today.
Got it.
They'll basically be able to place an order. They'll be able to use their phone to upload a picture of their ID, and we can deliver. And then you can basically require signature on the phone itself.
Okay.
So in the exact same way that it works for UPS or FedEx, we can deliver. I mean, today from a lot of our partners, we deliver over 100,000 SKUs. I mean, people are ordering Legos and weird little nozzles for a gardening hose and birthday cakes and rotisserie chickens and prescriptions.
That's a crazy one.
It's everything.
I don't trust a normal delivery, a human delivery driver with a birthday cake. That could go disastrously wrong. So yeah, the flight stability is key.
Exactly. Look, automated systems aren't going to eat significant percentages of the food, before it's delivered to you. But there's also way less safety risk.
Yeah.
I think it's very similar to Waymo, where a young woman who suddenly looks up from her phone in a ride share and is like, where the heck did my driver just drive me to?
Yeah.
People have similar experiences with delivery, where it's like someone's looking over your shoulder, like, are you home alone tonight? A lot of these a lot of these kinds of services, it is much safer to have automated systems that are supervised by humans, serving people.
Yeah.
And by the way, what we are observing is it's like there really is no comparable. Like when we look at the frequency of customer ordering right now, there are lots of people who are ordering from Zipline every single day.
Yeah.
And so I think this is not something that you see with traditional instant logistics. You see it once you make it 10 times faster, half the cost, and zero emission.
Well, congratulations. Thank you so much for hopping on the show.
Every time you come on, I can't wait for more people to experience it, because given the how focused you are in places like Dallas, I think it's one of those things like Waymo where you have to experience it until you can really realize that the future is here. So congrats.
All right, but you guys,
I
have a surprise for you.
Please.
Someone's here auditing.
No
One
way.
of your guys' sponsors is here auditing.
Hey, no way.
Maximum impacts.
A year-long sponsorship for TBPN. I'm telling him about the oil farming benefits.
Let's go.
TBPN top-tier sponsorship.
Yes.
Lambda Lab is here.
While he's there,
Zipline.
cut to the Lambda lightning round.
Wrong angle.
Oh no, the Lambda cloud.
Full disclosure.
Esther and Lambda, and he's
Yes.
and he's really, we're just been grinding it out in the hardware founders complex coordination business, and we just punch people in the face really hard.
Are you delivering?
Steven said he was so pleased with this interview that he's going to be quadrupling down on the partnership.
There
with
we go.
Fantastic.
There we go.
He's seeing the impact of their advertising.
John, good to see you guys.
Great
to see you
guys.
Teleportation is a service.
Yes.
Yeah, are you getting? Hopefully, you're getting. If those GPUs need to get to the data centers faster, hopefully they're flying in Ziplines. That's
right, and we'll eventually turn them into distributed
compute.
Yes.
This is what Tesla's doing. Maybe Zipline will do this with Lambda. We have GPUs in all the aircraft.
That's
amazing.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time. Congratulations again.
Have fun. Wish we were there.
The awesome performance. Overnight success. You got to hit him with the overnight success. Every time he comes on, this man spent a decade, 10
years in the making.
10 years in the making, and now he's growing every day and doubling the business with incredible speed.
Great stuff, guys.
We'll talk to you soon. Goodbye.
Cheers.
Lambda. Lambda is the super intelligence cloud, building AI supercomputers for training and inference that scale from one GPU to hundreds of thousands. And without further ado, we will continue our Lambda lightning round and bring in Jake Cooper from Railway. He's the co-founder and CEO, also a TBPN sponsor.
There he is.
Jake, good to see you. How you doing?
Get that gong
I'm doing great.
ready.
How are y'all doing?
We're doing
excited to be here.
fantastically.
So stoked to finally have you on the show.
Yeah, great to have you here. Give us the update. What happened?
Cool. We raised a bunch of money. So raised a $100 million round to build data centers and make software just way easier to use, because the definition of a developer is melting before our very eyes. It's melting, So anybody can ship code, which is crazy.
Yeah.
We're making it trivially easy for anybody to go and do that. So it's a really exciting time to be, in the business and also just, on the planet.
Yeah. How is that actually playing out? We've talked to some folks about how there are designers there's one idea that AI will take a 1x engineer and turn them into a 10x engineer, and that's probably true. But there's also this idea
it's
that
going to be like a 10,000x engineer.
10,000x engineer.
Like we have people internally moving so quickly. I've rebuilt a bunch of the internal organization so we can move it. What I'm calling, it's super cringe, but I'm calling it agent speed.
Okay, sure.
Because people are just moving way, way faster now. So like you get a 10,000x engineer. But yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
But then there's also the 0 to 1x engineer where you take a designer and then they're able to actually ship production code, or a manager or a sales development representative. Anyone can build a tool. Which one is more central to the current railway pitch when you're talking to customers?
I think there's like resonance across the entire space. So we have like larger companies who are, they're spending 6 figures. They're building something like of deep consequence, like critical for their business, right? And then you have like teams of 1,000 essentially, all kind of like vibe coding, and they're building like really, really kind of smaller things, but they're really, really important either for client infrastructure or internal tools or anything else like that. And we've got everybody internally now on like a Claude Code subscription. Sure. Including our recruiting, our operations, et cetera. There's just the boundary of your ambitions needs to be deeply, deeply kind of reevaluated just with how good these tools are getting. And we're excited
What's your personal framework internally and kind of like guidance, or how are you and the team thinking about like when it makes like, because right now I feel like there's this obviously so much excitement. You can build, an internal tool in an hour or something like that. But every time you build a tool, you're creating like some type of like ongoing maintenance burden, something like that.
Tech debt, and stuff like that.
Tech debt. So what's your framework of like, hey, this should be something that that we just should build versus finding a point solution or even using something as like a Google Sheet or at the kind of low end?
Yeah, so we use Notion a lot internally, and I think lots of like deeply flexible tools are going to be really, really key, because now that the agent can kind of go and almost like orchestrate these things in general, you can kind of compartmentalize very, very flexible tools together, right? And so I think that when you're thinking about kind of the build versus buy boundary, right? It's a lot on kind of pushing the context into the tool so that you can access a lot of the context and take advantage of it, right? So I think the burden for almost buy goes up a lot because the ambitions and the capability of you being able to build something that's purpose-built internally is actually so trivial now, right? Like historically, I've built a lot of internal tooling to allow us to do project management, releases, et cetera. And now I can actually just kind of push the boundary on a lot of those things. One of my hot takes is that like, ERP software, right?
Yeah, of course.
Are you familiar with it? Right?
We love ERP software.
I was born in
right.
ERP
So ERP
software.
software, right? Only useful at scale to build an organization to manage resources or whatever, right? Now you can kind of build those like organizational structures way, way earlier, right? So the way that railway runs has historically been different than organizations. And so I think what you're going to see is almost this Cambrian explosion of various different ways that you can run your organization, which I think is super, super cool. So unfortunately, like I'm an engineer, so I have engineering brain damage. I think everybody should be building kind of their own stuff, So yeah.
How has your thinking on product management evolved over the last year?
Oh man, I had this tweet that I was like, oh yeah, engineers are going to turn into PMs like faster than PMs can turn into engineers, and I think like a week ago I was like, that's completely wrong.
I like that you were willing to just be like, yep, bad take.
Oh yeah, I mean you gotta take your lumps too, right? Like I don't mind like your take can be awful, but if you're gonna stand behind it, just like almost like go down with the ship and be like, all right, the take was awful. We're going down. Don't delete the tweet. But yeah, I think there's only 3 things essentially left if you assume that the agents are going to kind of be able to do pretty much anything, right? It's taste, agency, and structure, right? So when you think about almost anything that you can go and build, those PMs have a lot of that context, right? And so you don't need to be a Rust engineer to write Rust anymore. You don't need to be a JavaScript engineer. You don't even have to be an engineer, right? Like we're almost doing this like double shift right, where you have like knowledge workers, programmers, engineers, architects, and scientists, right? Based on how nebulous your work is, right? And I think that if you're a knowledge worker, you should probably actually just be like, yeah, I can just engineer things now, right? What it takes is kind of a bit of critical thinking, a bit of kind of like, okay, how will this system kind of roughly fail? And now you can do it in kind of a lower stakes environment. What we hope to provide with Railway is actually those kind of like bleeding edge industry best practices, like really annoying stuff like VPC peering, like versioned infrastructure so that you can move quickly but also safely and build these kind of bigger and bigger structures over time. So I think the role of the PM evolves a lot, and you're going to see a lot of these kind of almost like merging or melting of these kind of roles together, right? Like software engineers will have to become PMs because now it is completely trivial to just go and write code, right? Like I wrote like 5,000 lines of code yesterday, right? And I spent most of my, and this was like between meetings, right? And I spent most of the time not actually like auditing the code itself, but auditing a lot of the logic, going in, working, talking about the architecture, all of those other things, right? So I think, again, the burdens or the boundary of your ambitions needs to be deeply, deeply pushed. And so if we at Railway can kind of almost unburden the developer so that they can think about those bigger and bigger things, our hope is that you can build those kind of almost like massive, massive structures, right? Like if you look at the Golden Gate Bridge, in this current day and age, my first kind of response is like, how do we build that thing? It's so big and so impressive, right? And so now you actually have these wonderful tools that push the boundary of that. So you can build these massive things, right? And it's super exciting to just, I was telling this to an investor, which is probably the wrong thing to tell to an investor, but I was like, even if we get schmucked here, like, what a time to be alive. And they were like, cool, dude. All right, sick. We're going to pass. But yeah.
That's wild. How are you thinking about?
No, I do think that, like, I mean, obviously, play to win, and
it's just refreshing.
But it's very refreshing versus the. I know exactly how the next 5 to 10 years will unfold day by day. It's like no one knows. Like the space is moving so quickly. You need to really deeply understand like who's signing up for your product, who loves your product, why do they love your product, how do you expand your product and continue to be critical infrastructure for those customers. So
we have some questions from the chat.
Okay.
Sorry, what were you about to say?
I was just gonna say, like I think, but like during this period, you should kind of take those risks, right? Like it's almost a deeply, almost like risk by default period, right? And I think that there's what does Elon know that probably other people don't know, right? And I think you've heard like Peter Thiel talk about this too, and it's almost the calculus of risk is not just purely there, right? Risk is less risky than you actually think, right? So I think people should kind of push those boundaries. And if we can kind of create those safety nets for people in general, I think we can build wonderful, wonderful things. And as a side note, I think we've made risk and failure a bit too expensive in our current society. And if we can rewind that, essentially, we can open people up to like sweet success and a bit of bitter failure, because when you take risks, sometimes things don't work out. But that forms a baseline experience that allows you to kind of drive these unique kind of tastes forward. So to the chat.
Said. To the chat, we have to ask you about your bike.
And Nakunj says your motorcycle liability clause on your term sheet.
Yeah, we have key man insurance. I'm kind of like, I'm counting the days until somebody really asks me to like go up and give up the bike. And it's funny because people ask me, like, oh my God, you ride a motorcycle. Like, I feel like I should get into that. And I was like, my answer is like, absolutely not. Do not do that. Like, I've been riding dirt bikes since I was like 13, basically. So like, I've had a bike for a while, and I've kind of worked my way up, right? Don't be stupid.
No, you got to play the history. You got to say the riskiest thing you can do is not take any risk. Get on the motorcycle.
Sunday ride?
My Sunday ride is basically, I live near the Inner Richmond, so I basically just like go up and drive through the Presidio, maybe in the marina. There's that like nice coffee like truck, basically. I go to the gym in the marina. They've got a sauna. It's wonderful. So I just kind of.
Do you ever try to find like a super steep, classic SF hill and go a little too fast on the way up?
No, those days are like behind me because I promised the investors that like I wouldn't do anything stupid. So the unfortunate thing about the bike is like it's a nice bike in general. It's like the bike I wanted growing up, but I don't ride it like it should be.
What bike? What bike?
So it's a Ducati, like the Panigale.
There we go.
We have another question from the chat. Everyone's loving the bookshelf behind you. Give us some book recommendations. What's on the shelf?
What's the most underrated book?
What's the most underrated? What's the favorite book? What's the one with the most highlights and notes?
Well, this is actually my wife's side of the bookshelf. Okay. I'll go off things that are maybe not on there. I know I do see I think the Steve Jobs book is somewhere up there, which I don't know, it's pretty good. One of my favorite books actually is Getting to Yes. I don't know if y'all have kind of read it.
I think so. It's about like sales negotiation?
It's a book essentially on compromise, right?
Okay.
And so essentially it allows you to break down problems in a way that is not kind of me versus you, but it's me versus the problem, right? And so one of my favorite analogies in there is like, we're splitting an orange, right? We could split it down the middle essentially, and I could you could have half and I could have half in general, or we could figure out what we care about in general, right? And maybe I'm making mixed drinks, and maybe you're taking your kid to the soccer game, right? Or anything else like that. And so in essence, I want the peel and you want the whole orange, right? We can both come out on top roughly, right? And I think that figuring out ways that you can almost like have a solid compromise with people is deeply, deeply important, on that one. So I like that book.
Love it.
Back to AI and how it's changing software development, database selection, database migration, switching something as ingrained in an organization as a database has historically been very difficult.
Oh, yeah.
Are AI agents making it easier? Are you actually seeing companies move around from one database to another, maybe based on cost, maybe based on features? Is the fact that a particular LLM is in love with a Redis or a MongoDB, like, is that going to be relevant in the future?
So I'm unfortunately a little bit like too Dario pilled in terms of like the fundamental laws of physics, right?
Sure.
And so I think it's actually probably the hardest thing to change about your system is the database roughly, right? Because you have that storage, you have all of those other things, right? Like this is fundamentally also why we build data centers, right? One, you need more production roughly in the world, and we can start with data centers, and that's wonderful. But two, it's actually a really, really solid mode in terms of you can't just will into existence a data center, right? Like, and at some point, potentially down the line, like those things will get more and more expensive just because of the cost of labor, but like the cost of capital is decreasing, right? And so I think the similar thing kind of applies roughly with data centers if you kind of move roughly up the stack. And so we actually started building, databases. We actually started building databases. Like we were originally just a, click a button, get a Postgres instance or Redis instance or anything else like that. And we've slowly worked our way back up, right? Up to building, web apps, we'll launch a CDN at some point in the future, stuff like that. So I think that when you look at that lens of like fundamental law of physics, I think the database is like a very, very important part of your kind of rough calculus. And I think the agents are making it easier to go and almost manage those migrations. But when I was talking about those 5,000 lines of code, you have to think about kind of what you are roughly building, right? And so you're still going to need to audit it. And that's sort of why I say, moving from engineers to like architects, right? Where you're thinking about that kind of bigger vision. And so, as Jordy said it earlier, like, I don't think anybody can roughly predict the future for a lot of these things, but I do still think that fundamentally there are going to be requirements for how do you integrate the things that exist in the physical realm, so roughly around those databases to storage to data centers, and with kind of your expected reality, basically, right? And the hope over time is that Railway can actually help you do that, right? So we do this on a software level, and we've built tooling internally to help build data centers. And so we've actually virtualized a bunch of those racks. So now you can almost drag and drop those servers into them. And at some point, we can get to a point where we're working directly with the Supermicro API. You can drag and say, hey, I want this data center of this size in general. You'll create POs for that and say, okay, cool, hit a button. It'll cost you 25 mil or something like that. Right? And that's the goal.
One-click checkout for data centers.
One-click checkout for data centers and stuff like that. And moving towards a world where you can almost, because it's easier to build things on the internet, right? It's a fundamental like fact, right? If you can simulate it and simulate that small section of it, and you can create almost APIs to reconcile, like this is what Terraform did really, really well, like expected state versus desired state. And if we can do that with your intention as you kind of move through time and give you those safe kind of primitives to say, okay, cool, like I want to make this change. Let me fork my entire environment, get copy on write storage for everything, make some small change, I make it in production, it merges, and you deploy it instantly. Then you're kind of moving at agent speed, right? And that's what we think a lot about in terms of building the next fundamental layer of software development and then physical production beyond that.
You were at Bloomberg. Did you get to work directly on the terminal?
A little bit. I bounced around a bit at Bloomberg. I was only there for about 6 months, but it was a really, really cool time to kind of work on stuff like that. I was working on a bit of the internal tooling, so I got a couple commits that I think are probably still inside.
Let's go.
Powering the Odd Lots podcast, making Joe Weisenthal's job easier. We love to see it.
Putting Joe Weisenthal in agent mode.
Yes, hopefully. Well, thank you so much for taking the time.
Congratulations to the whole team. The chat loves you. Come back on again soon.
I'd love to go way deeper. And thanks for having us as sponsors. Like we're big proponents of like rich taste, and like we believe that TBPN has a rich taste that y'all are sharing with the world, and we're just happy to be here. So have me on anytime. Love to join and hang out.
Thank you for making this possible.
Awesome.
We'll
talk
see
to
you on
soon.
for the C very soon, I'm sure.
Goodbye.
Cheers, Jake.
Peace. All right.
And in case you've been living under a data center, Railway simplifies software deployment. Web apps, servers, and databases run in one place with scaling, monitoring, and security built in. We're very happy to be partnered with Railway. We have Joe Weisenthal coming into the...
He said he was running 5 minutes behind.
Perfect. Okay.
So we can get back to the timeline.
Quickly, let me
for a
tell you
second.
about 11
Oh, we got him.
Labs. Build intelligent real-time conversational agents, reimagine human technology interaction with 11 Labs. And we do have Joe Weisenthal in the Restream waiting room. We'll bring him into the TBPN Ultra Dome. Joe Weisenthal,
Brother Joe,
how are you
suit
doing?
it up.
It has been eons. It's been far too long. I'm so glad you're here. Thank you so much for taking the time.
I missed you guys too. It has been far too long. It probably hasn't even been that much time, but probably like there's just been so much that's happened since the last time we connected. It feels years. It feels like years.
There
really
has
does.
been.
Really does.
So, do you have Davos FOMO right now? I feel like it's been a good year for Davos. You're normally our foreign correspondent. You're on the ground at all these big hoity-toity events. I go to you, but your peers, you're in New York.
I'm in the New York studio.
Okay.
You know, I was in Davos in January.
Whoa, we get it,
2015.
dude. We get it. We get it, Joe. You've been to Davos.
2015,
Wow.
2015.
They said 10 years and he wouldn't lose touch. Apparently, he's just completely lost touch.
No, this is a real story. This is a
Okay,
real story,
tell
though.
us.
I got like, first of all, it's like very cold there. It's not that nice. I got a flu or I got sick there. I was so miserable that when I got back, I told the people inside Bloomberg, I said, never invite me to Davos again, lest I feel tempted to say yes. Because it's like, oh, do you want to be part of our Davos team? Of course. Oh, yeah, okay, maybe. So I didn't even want the temptation to say yes.
I thought you were gonna say you got back and you immediately switched up on your day one. you never looked back.
You forgot where you came from.
No, it's like I do not want the temptation to go back.
sense.
But I've always been the same as everyone else. It's like, oh, Davos, boring, blah, blah, blah. And then finally, there's a good Davos. 10 years or however many years it's been since I went. There's finally a good Davos where there's like a bunch of news and action. And I guess, did I have a little FOMO? Maybe I did. I don't know. It seemed like a fun one this year.
Yeah, it's been 55 years, something like that, going strong. What headlines have stuck out to you that have come out? We've been tracking most of the AI and tech stuff, but has anything popped up on your radar that's sort of updated you?
Did anything spike your cortisol?
Without question, the Mark Carney speech, the Canadian Prime Minister, it was like pretty out there in terms of like the old world is dead. There's no point in nostalgia. Everybody for themselves, sovereignty, power politics is back. And this is like, you know, it's one of these things where like the three of us could have had this conversation a couple years ago, but to hear it from someone like a Mark Carney, who's like, he's such an institutional man, right? So he used to be the head of the Bank of England and the Bank of Canada for that matter, like a true internationalist Davos man. I mean, I think if you thought of who is Davos man, you would think someone like Mark Carney. So to hear him basically say like, we shouldn't be, that world is dead, and there's no point in spending time being nostalgic for it, I would say it's sort of it's a mark-to-market moment, I would say. And so without question, I think like that was from a sort of geopolitical standpoint, the highlight of the whole event. The other speech that I thought was really remarkable or very important was the Chinese vice premier there talking about how China doesn't want to just be the factory to the world. It also wants to buy your stuff, because for all the anxiety that we have here in the U.S., every other country is feeling that stress as well. Their manufacturing sector is getting hollowed out by Chinese competition. So it's clearly a source of, I would say, an anxiety for China that every country around the world looks at them and thinks, wait, are you going to kill my domestic champions as well as you've done to, European chemical companies, automakers, and so forth?
It's great. It's great that they're
undercurrent.
saying that, but does anyone actually believe it? I mean, ask like Elon. Do you think? Do the Chinese really want to buy Teslas?
No, I mean, so I wrote about this, and my take is that, like, they have been saying this for years. This is not the first time. And they're like, oh, we're going to lift domestic consumption, and that's going to create imports, then that'll benefit the rest of the world, and so forth. They've been saying this for years, and I think there is this view that's like, well, this is just lip service. It's just, they just say it every year, and then they say it again the next year. I think, however, in their defense, what I would say is, the structure of the sort of domestic Chinese political economy makes it very hard. And if I could just get technical for a second, they have this very decentralized approach to fiscal policy, which is, all of the different provinces basically run their own economies, and the provincial leaders, they try to achieve goals that are set by Beijing. And basically, this is how you get this crazy race to the bottom, which is every province wants to have their BYD, their, battery maker, etc. And so the issue isn't so much whether Chinese leaders in Beijing are serious about wanting to boost imports. The question is whether their system will ever allow them to get out of the sort of game theory equilibrium where all of the provincial leaders feel incentivized to just export as much as possible. And it is probably a tricky thing to turn around that political system in the same way that we have difficulties that are very difficult to turn around, even if someone in Washington, D.C. says otherwise.
What's the sweet spot for Chinese imports? Because it feels like they are exporting a ton, cars and phones and all sorts of stuff, rare earth elements.
The sweet spot is luxury goods.
Is
That's
it?
the one thing.
Is
it's
it?
like you can't.
But they want to import chips, but we're really putting the kibosh on that, going back and forth.
Well,
or whatever.
the companies do.
The companies do, but
Birdie doesn't.
the China seems to want to be a buyer of semiconductors and silicon. But is there a sweet spot product that you think that they'd actually be well suited to scale their imports of?
I think this is the real serious question. Yeah. So, I mean, even on the chips thing, they want to be an importer of chips now, but they don't want to be an importer of chips in 5 years, right? Yeah. They want to be an importer of chips only so long, only for so long as it takes for them to have domestic capacity to produce the world's most advanced chips. They certainly, they clearly do not want to have this permanently be importing NVIDIA chips or whatever. They would like Huawei to supersede them. Yeah. But then on the other things, the intuitive answer is you're going to import luxury goods and fine wines and all that stuff. But even there, there was a great FT story in December talking about how China is becoming a booming producer of caviar and sparkling wine, these things that we don't associate with China at all, or really nice organic cherries and stuff like that. And so even there's this sort of effectiveness of their domestic productivity, their ability to sort of identify a sector and get really good at producing it really fast, which you can't knock them for it. That's progress, but it does create these very intense strains. And so you ask, okay, you want to import more from the rest of the world. Well, what do you imagine that's going to be in 2035? What is the rest of the world making that you can't make domestically? You can't really knock the country for it, right? Yeah. Being good at building things is awesome, and everyone would like to do it. But you can't. What is that thing? And I don't think anyone really has that sweet spot answer. I think it's really.
Yeah, on the luxury goods side, they're so good at making stuff. They can make you a watch that looks exactly like a Richard Mille. It looks at really it looks like a 1-to-1. The only difference in the kind of saving grace for our RM is you can't just snap your fingers and have you can't that quality of brand and the story.
But if you definitely can't sort of establish the backstory and the brand, the legend. That's going to take a long time. But I think I bought a very cheap Chinese watch last year. But I sort of looked into the Chinese watch industry and the sort of the watch nerds online, people who talk about luxury watches on Reddit, et cetera. They're full of praise at the quality of the mechanical gearing or whatever.
The horology.
In a lot of the so they are catching up, they are catching up fast to what they can do in Switzerland and elsewhere, even in that category.
Interesting.
What's going on with Japan? What's going on over there?
So, we did it. We have a great episode that came out today. So we talked to the CEO of PIMCO, which, owns the world's largest bond fund.
That's on the Odd Lots podcast, which is available in your podcast players.
It's on the Odd Lots podcast, wherever you get your podcast.
Fantastic.
She's making it handmade for over 10 years.
Over a decade.
That's right. Yeah, handmade in New York City for over a decade. But
sort of the Patek Philippe of podcasts.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, many people say that.
Yeah.
I haven't said that, but
it has a lot of history. It does.
This is what everyone always says. Oh, Odd Lots, yes, that's the Patek Philippe of podcasts. That's right. But you know what? So everyone's looking at these bond yields in Japan, and they're surging, and people are saying, Japan has a lot of government debt. That's very true, and they're saying, is this the big one, right? Is this the moment where the bill comes due and they're going to have to print a ton of yen and the yen, is worth as much as confetti or whatever? His argument is like, no, he had just gotten back from Japan. He said, no, that's not what's going on at all. What's happening is that Japanese economic growth, et cetera, has been stagnant for 30 years and there is actually a reinvigorated domestic investment, and that has an inflationary impulse, and that does push up rates, just in the way that rates have come up in the U.S. since the ZIRP era of the 2010s. And his argument, which I find compelling, is that if you look at the Nikkei, their main stock index, and you look at it in U.S. dollar terms, that is surging to new all-time highs. So we're not seeing a collapse of the yen at all.
Okay.
And you would not expect, if this country is like, oh, this is the prelude to hyperinflation, you would not expect to see such robustness in the stock market. And I find that compelling. So for now, I'm going to take it as this is a sign of a country.
Expand that a little bit more because. Sure. Hyperinflation, you can have asset prices going up even if there's not necessarily the fundamentals
but you would
of the
not
business
expect,
aren't changing.
Yes, but you would not expect to see that happening in other currency terms. So it's like, yes, if you look at the Venezuelan stock market in the 2010s, I mean, you just look at a line and it looks like it's going through the moon because to the moon existed. And then you just on the Bloomberg, you just toggle that. And now I want to look at the same stock market in US dollar terms. Not in bolivars, and then you see the stock market's basically gone to zero. And so it's like a simple test.
Got it.
Yeah, like in a period of broad scale devaluation of the currency, you get the phenomenon that you describe where everything goes up. But when you see it going up in dollar terms, there has been some dollar weakness, but when you see it going up so much in terms of a foreign currency, then it's no longer a story about debasement.
What did you think about some of Ken Griffin's comments? I thought I appreciated his perspective on the AI boom and job loss, specifically because this is somebody who's been heavily focused on automating trading, specifically for a very long time, working with some of the best.
What did he say? Now I feel bad. What was the? Well, I missed.
Oh, he was just basically saying that this sort of job loss concept is overblown in the shorter
His
term.
example was that
he said it was hype.
Yeah, he had a commodities trader come to him with a report that was AI generated, and he said he was amazed with the title, amazed with the intro paragraph, and then as he dug in, he basically called it slop, and it's a classic debate on, well, are we about to turn the corner? And Ken Griffin's the next person to be impressed because Andrej Karpathy was not impressed with the code that these models were writing a year ago. Now he's like, I'm falling behind. It's amazing. And so is Ken Griffin the next domino to fall, or is he a canary in the coal mine for some true plateau?
It would be really interesting. I would love to, if I could, what I would really love is not to hear Ken Griffin's take on AI, but what I'd like to hear is a pod manager within Citadel. Yeah. Because so many of those jobs of running the pods, or I've talked to a bunch of them now, and they're coding jobs. So there's someone gets hired as a junior analyst within a pod, right? And they're going to study, they're going to track industrial stocks, or they're going to trade chemical stocks. But those jobs are basically coding jobs, or a large part, and they're running back tests and so forth, and they're trying to see, okay, what information corresponds to useful signal, what sort of economic data, and so forth. And these are all just, they're computer jobs, they're engineering jobs, and they're in many cases competing at some of these firms for some of the same talent as many cases as big tech.
Yeah, that's
so I agree. I think it's many people would agree with Ken Griffin that you are not going to get some gem of insight about what stock to trade or anything like that, or any commodity from a sort of AI generated report. But it's also, we know at every engineer, every software engineer we talk to talks about how impressed they are right now with Opus 4.5 and so forth. And so I would be curious, because we have an episode of the podcast coming out next week with the head of a major bank. They are seeing, I'll say the tenor of the conversation has changed from last year to this year. Last year, when you ask executives, well, what are you actually getting value out of from AI right now? they would say, well, we have tests everywhere, right? We're testing a bunch of stuff. We're really excited about it.
Yeah.
Now they come back with clear examples of this is a workflow process that was more costly or time intensive last year than it is right now. And so I think from my perspective, clearly just talking to people, people are finding productivity gains that are real from it.
That's so funny because, I remember more of the Ken Griffin quote, and one of the lines he said was that he specifically asked a bunch of business leaders to give examples of how AI is improving their business. And he was taken aback by the fact that none of them were citing generative AI as the core driver.
That's interesting.
But I agree with you generally. There was an interesting report in the Wall Street Journal about how the C-suite is reporting much more time saving from AI tools than workers in the non-suite C-suite category. And I wasn't sure what to make of that. Whether it's just like stuff fills the gaps more, there's some sort of incentive. I don't know.
I do. Look, I still think by and large at this point, probably it's modest what people, in terms of, oh, this is like really moving the dial, or this is a dramatic change in how productive our employees can be at any level. And I'm sort of, even in the C-suite, I'm like, I'd be curious to know what exactly they're doing that, okay, this is saving them time. I mean, maybe in some cases it might just be they're having an AI draft an email for them that's a lot quicker, and there's probably some
when I think about the C-suite job, I think about a lot of deep research reports for every business decision that they're making, and they're not working less. They're just saying that to make this one decision, I needed to get a survey together of all the companies in this category that I could potentially do business with before I walk into this meeting with this one company that I might do business with. And yes, that would take an hour on Google and a spreadsheet to pull together. Deep research just does it in 10 minutes in the background on your phone. And so I feel like there are real speed ups there, and maybe workers just haven't been diffused in that way, or it's less relevant in like a non-knowledge work, non-executive functioning task. It's just a different diffusion level. Anyway, I want to talk to you about the future of the New York Times homepage. Because you
great. I love this topic. I love this topic.
Yeah, you were blackpilling a little bit, saying that it's not going to be maintained in a future where the news is collected. And my point was maybe if the cost to maintain the New York Times homepage goes down because AI tools are more available and more diffuse and cheaper, that you might actually see a continuation of the greatness that is beautiful homepages. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's a great take, actually. And I guess my concern isn't like, okay, we're not going to have websites anymore per se.
I mean, we still have newspapers,
just that seems so.
We
still have newspapers, right?
Yeah.
But it's more that if in a world in which we are communicating, I buy my auto insurance through an AI agent of some source, like. Why does that auto insurance company really need to have a web presence as we know it? Or why is the web presence optimized for human consumers as the sort of human consumer becomes less and less a factor, less and less relevant for them? So, I wasn't even, like, when I wrote that, like, I wasn't even, like, dooming or blackpilling or any of that per se. And actually, even going back to the New York Times example, the post homepage era is actually, it's been there for years, right? So if you think like the digital media at the New York Times, what are they probably really excited about? Well, it's probably like getting many of their reporters to get comfortable doing reels or going out doing TikToks where they talk about that story.
Yeah.
So, like, in a sense, the sort of post-web page era has been around for a long time. But it feels like with, like, the sort of efficacy and the clear usefulness of agents and scraping, et cetera, it's just not obvious why it's going to be much of a priority. Maybe for, the Times is a really nice homepage. And so to your point, it would be easy to maintain and so forth. It's probably very easy to maintain as it is, or certainly a lot easier than it used to be. It's just not clear that this is going to be the sort of dominant way that we sort of trade digital information.
Yeah, they might. They have a big, obviously, games division. We could see them continue to invest there, maybe get into gaming, open a casino in Vegas.
Oh, yeah.
The New York Times casino on the Strip.
Imagine how great that would be?
It was a great
I went to
it,
Vegas,
honestly.
Hanging out by the pool at the New York Times casino.
I want high-stakes Wordle. I'm putting 100 G's down on Wordle. Let's go.
People would love that.
People probably would love that.
the thing about the New York Times is, other than there's a handful of others, perhaps, and I'd like Bloomberg is one of them. Yeah. But it is a brand. It is a lifestyle brand, right? In a way that very few news outlets of any sort have ever been able to achieve. So they go into cooking and they have cooking shows. They go into simple games on the phone. There are not many news entities of any sort that could pull that off. And I've always been, for years, a sort of, not literally, but a New York Times bull, because it's just been so obvious to me that there's this one news brand that is also this big lifestyle brand, and their core subscribers will follow them into all of these new ventures. And it's just something, I don't want to name names, but like other like big publications, similar national general news publications do not have that same cachet where if they get into some totally new line of business that they'll have subscribers who will pay up all of that money. So the New York Times is sort of a special entity.
Totally. I completely agree. It's also interesting that the New York Times has managed this like sort of influencer transition remarkably well. When I go on YouTube, I'll see the Ezra Klein show or Ross Douthat or Hard Fork, and Ezra and Ross have like their own brands, but it still like has the aesthetics of the New York Times, and they brought that into YouTube, and they do these collabs. Like just watching how they've actually mechanically positioned as the talent is more forward, but it's still under the umbrella. Very smart.
And every publication would love to pull that off, but it's really tough because then you get this situation which the talent says like, oh wait, why am I still here, etc. I think it actually speaks to just like how powerful that New York Times brand is that someone, Ross Douthat, Ezra, et cetera. No, this is a very good fit, but it's tricky. Every publication is going to try to do some version, have their own, equivalent of their Substack roster, right? Or have their equivalent of that. And I think very few are really going to be able to pull it off at scale.
Are you one-shotted by vibe coding?
Yeah, you know what? I have like full-on AI psychosis, and I'll tell you. Here's the evidence that I realized.
Complete victory for TAC.
Yeah. So here's I'm going to admit this here, but here was the moment that I knew I had full-on one-shotted psychosis, which was whatever term we want to use. So I was like vibe coding. I was using Claude Code, and I was like very impressed. And then I opened up a second Claude Code window, because I wanted to be able to work on a couple like aspects of the project in parallel. And then the second window, it made a suggestion for what I work on that was actually a very bad suggestion. It was the first. Had I actually said yes to the suggestion, it would have really set me back quite a bit. It was, and I'm glad I paid attention, overwrote it. And my first thought in that moment was like, the original window would have never made that mistake. It's like the original window, that window really got me. This window doesn't get me at all. And I was like, I'm sticking with the window on the right side. And in that moment, when I like had that thought that, this window doesn't get me the way the other window, I was like, Joe, okay, I got to step away from the computer a little bit. Those are early signs. I think I'm like, I'm very proud of myself. I think I avoid psychoses of all sorts. I've been on Twitter for 15 years and I haven't gone crazy. Strong. And so I was like, okay, I saw that in myself. It's like, step away from the computer. It's just a computer. There's no personality. There's not one screen that gets me better. But when I noticed that, it's like, okay, I'm more at risk perhaps than I thought.
What have you been building?
Yeah, so I'm very obsessed for years with this idea that people write and speak fundamentally differently. And when we give speeches, we use various things. We rhyme and we speak in rhythm and we use mnemonic aids and we say first and you and all these different linguistic things. And that's just been a personal interest of mine. And I sort of think that as digital media has saturated our lives for the last 15, 20 years, even our written text comes to resemble more spoken text. And so I thought, well, it would be fun if you could like build a piece of software that actually empirically tested this question. Like, does a piece of writing in a newspaper today resemble more written word than, say, that same column or whatever 20 years ago? And I'd like to be able to test this out. And there are various lexical markers that linguists and others have used to work on these things. So I thought, okay, it would be fun to see if I could build this. And so I've actually been able to build it. People go check it out, Havelock.ai, and you just drop a piece of text in, and then it says, this sentence looks literate, this sentence looks like the spoken word, and so forth. And it's almost works. Like, I'm actually astonished. It's not perfect by any stretch. I still have a lot of work to do. But basically, I sort of was able to vibe code this sort of machine learning model where I trained a model to detect this is rhyme, this is not, etc. And then it breaks out every sentence and then sort of scores the whole piece. And it works. And I'm sort of astonished.
And you've been testing it on Davos.
Yeah, like, so I tested on the Mark Carney speech and the Trump speech, and the difference is remarkable. It's every sentence, it sort of classifies one as this resembles the spoken word, this resembles the written word. And the difference, we hear this, right? You hear the two speeches, it's like, okay, they're speaking at a very different register. This feels very different. And it's cool that, like, I've been, with 2 weeks of hobby coding, been able to build this model. And I trained, I'd learned how to, I don't know what I learned, but I was able to build this little machine learning model that identifies each sentence and categorize in one. And I'm like, this is crazy. It actually kind of works, and I don't know anything about code, and this is something that I've wanted to exist for a long time, and I was able to just build it. And so,
and it's cool because it's something. It's something that, like, I'm sure you could find a way to turn it into a business, but it's actually a tool that just should exist. Like, there were so many tools that didn't exist because there was no business justification to devote hundreds of hours.
Exactly that, right? Like, so this is an interesting thing, but who's actually going to take the many, many sort of hours that it would take to actually code this? Because I don't think there was, like, some obvious path to riches here. But it was I did like an hour or two a day for a few days at 5 a.m. before my kids got up. And it is a properly working piece of software that I can use. I still need to fine tune it a lot. There's still mistakes and so forth, but it actually works.
You have to
turn it. You
need to turn into like a vibe coding / mindset influencer every morning. It's like it's 5 a.m. I'm tired.
What are you
I'm up at my desk.
Yeah.
Everyone else is sleeping.
The
I'm
Jocko
vibe
Willink,
coding.
it's the photo of the watch every day.
It's 2 a.m. on the West Coast. All my enemies are sleeping.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I'm gonna.
That's great. I just ran my most recent essay through Havelock.ai. I got a 76% orality score.
Great.
I write very loosely, strongly oral.
Well, part of that is that we do.
The essay. I started the essay. Trump, Greenland, Elon, blah blah blah. Let's focus on the important thing. Because I deliberately write exactly like I talk.
Yeah,
but
and
I don't know
that's like I'm pretty happy about that. It sounds like it scored it pretty well.
100%.
That also means that you are writing in a way that connects with the modern, the modern audience. And so I think that's great. And you could test that. And now you can know, and is this in the contemporary register? And I don't know, like, high score, low score, better or worse. I just think it's cool that this thing can actually sort of figure it out.
I love it. Anything else, Jordy?
No, super fun.
Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thanks
Joe.
for having me.
Always great. Can't wait to talk to you soon.
Great to hang.
Have a good one.
Talk soon, Joe. Have fun out there.
Goodbye. Figma. Figma Make isn't your average vibe coding tool. It lives in Figma, so outputs look good, feel real, and stay connected to how teams build, create code-backed prototypes and apps fast.
That is right.
So up next, we have an anonymous guest. We have
an anonymous poster.
Coldhealing, an anonymous poster joining
An internet anthropologist.
The TikTok anthropologist, Coldhealing, Midwesterner in exile, loneliness epidemic super spreader, and a dark statistician. I'm going to tell you about CrowdStrike before we bring him in from the Restream waiting room. CrowdStrike, your business is AI, their business is securing it. CrowdStrike secures AI and stops breaches. So, without further ado.
Chat is saying that Microsoft is down. Microsoft is down.
What happened?
People are not getting emails. But
I thought the stock was down.
Wyatt is in the chat hanging out with us because Microsoft is down. So, little silver lining there.
Well, without further ado, let's bring in Coldhealing into the TBPN Open Dome.
Whoa!
This is his profile picture, their profile picture. How are you doing? What is your profile picture of?
That is a photo of me. It's in my apartment in Peoria, Illinois, that I lived in when I was posting a lot on Twitter. I took I'm holding a sword in it. It's like a self-timer photo that I set up.
For some reason, I thought it was an RPG.
Yeah, people always say this. I really don't get this RPG thing. I mean, it is kind of sharp like an RPG is, but
I now see the sword outlined.
You thought RPG?
I did think RPG.
Too many hours in COD.
Too many hours in COD.
Sure.
It does have a very small hilt, but yeah, thanks for having me on, guys.
Thanks for joining.
Great to have you.
Anyway, give us a little background on like how you see your work, what you post, how you select content, how you curate. What are you trying to achieve with everything you do?
I'll start by saying I think that something that I like. One thing about your account that I think is really important is like algorithms like make us view the world and the internet in a specific way, right? Like even with Davos this week, I've been thinking like, wow, Davos was like all AI, all tech, and obviously it was not, right? There was like tech was a part of it, and that's just my algorithm, serving me content that it knows I'm gonna be excited about. And you're taking content from all over the internet. I'm sure you have like a bunch of different instances and accounts that have different interests. But I feel like the work that you're doing is a new science. And
anthropologist is the correct term,
and it's very important.
That's very nice to say. I mean, I think my goal is to just try to be like on the crest of what's happening on the internet. I mean, there's so much happening. I think that in a lot of ways, institutions are not fully chronicling what's happening, if that makes sense. Like a lot of the cutting edge culture on TikTok, especially, I felt I'm just also being unnoticed by other people on the internet, I think. I mean, I sort of accidentally came into this role, quite honestly. I mean, I've been on TikTok since 2018. I was like, viscerally loved the platform. Like first time I got on it, just the algorithm of it is just so good. And I was just, instantly like, just pulled in of like, wow, I can just, see so many different parts of the world really quickly. And so, I was doing YouTube anthropology even before that of just, getting into different niche subcultures online then. But yeah, I mean, basically it's just, I think this is all like worthy of studying and worthy of just further thought. And so I try to share the things that I think are, worth commentary to my audience. Yeah.
What videos are most memorable? You were surfaced the product manager,
poolside PM.
Product manager. I think that's of all the ones that's like number one most memorable. That's like for sure because I was like it really like blew up my account in a lot of ways, and also just the downstream impacts of it kind of causing the
destroyed product management.
Yes,
you set the product management field back.
No, they were early. They were early. They understood that there will be a lot of downtime while you're waiting for the agents to respond after you fire off a big long prompt, and so best to spend it at the pool. They were just early. The future's here. It's not evenly distributed. But what was the response to the poolside PMs thing? Because when you recontextualize some of these videos, sometimes there can be pile-ons. There can be positive things that come out of it. Like, how were you processing that moment of like mega virality?
I mean, for sure. I was definitely like me reposting it changed the context of it a ton, right? Totally. It was initially posted by like, a girl on TikTok excited to share, her her somewhat comfortable life. And she's posting it in a tongue-in-cheek way too, right? Totally. She's aware this is like, not her normal way of going about her day. She's posting it, because it's like, oh, this is a funny afternoon that I spent. But then, it gets into, Twitter discourse, and especially in like tech Twitter discourse, becomes kind of like a representation of the excesses of the 2020s like tech hiring boom. And I don't know. I think that that recontextualization definitely brought like a whole new audience from it. It was very interesting. I mean, like she like had like multiple responses to my reposting of it, which was not really just me reposting it. I mean, I think it was also all the other, external commentary, because I didn't really say that much. I mean, for me, I reposted it because it felt like my own life. That's what I was doing back then. I was working a work from home job, and I felt represented by the fact, like I wasn't in the pool, but I would go outside and sit on my patio, and it's really not that dissimilar, and it's it's great. It's great to sit in the sun with your laptop, and you can go inside when something important happens. I really don't think that that's like an end of the world way to work.
Yeah, talk to me about day in the life videos generally. Every time I see one surfaced, the comments are always like, there's so little work getting done. But if you've, personally, I've made enough videos that I can imagine if I tried to make a day in the life, there would be a lot of downtime that I would cut out because taking one phone call isn't as engaging as watching me assemble a meal from 6 different things. Just visually, it makes more sense to take a video of the commute, the coffee that you get, the meal that you have. Then yes, there's one frame of you doing Excel for 6 hours, but you don't put that doesn't take up 45 seconds of the 1 minute clip. But have you thought about like what the medium is that is the message of these videos?
No, 100%. It's like it's initially shot, or these earlier videos, like 2022 day in the life videos that I was posting of, like the product manager pool girls. Those are sort of shots in this way that's aspirational, that shows all the fun parts of their life. One thing I've been talking a little bit on my account recently is how it's kind of flipped the other way recently. You actually see kind of people shooting these day in the life videos in an intentionally mundane looking way.
Oh yeah, these people like day in the life of a middle manager at an accounting firm, and then they just show like it just looks like they make it look like
grinding.
They're like, wake up, protein shake, go on a 1 mile jog, drive to work.
Oh yeah,
it's like it's like the least
they have, like,
aspirational.
some somber music in the background.
Wow.
It's such an interesting interesting view. Something about the day in the life is just so triggering to people too. Like whatever life is being lived, people just develop an opinion.
Because everyone has a life, everyone has a day in their life, and they immediately compare it, I suppose. What do you think about this? If I remember correctly, the original poolside day in the life video, at the end, she sort of remarks that she's been making personal social media content because everyone might post a photo of an engagement or a wedding or a kid announcement. But then at a certain point, if your account gets big, it felt like she felt pressure from her colleagues to actually make content about work, and this was her expression of that. And I'm wondering if you've reflected on like what the role of the lower level employee in brand building around a corporation's work-life balance and what it's like to work there. That could go either way. Is that an interesting new trend? Are there pitfalls there? How do you reflect on that?
I think that's already over, to be honest. I mean, this was 3 years ago that video was posted. I think that now people would not represent that. You know what I mean? Like if you were you especially would not say what company you work for. Like if you are representing, like if you're a Palantir employee, you're not going to make a day in the life of a Palantir employee with the fun little lunch that you get. That's not like it's very discouraged by HR departments. It's also just socially discouraged. So I think that people have become like aware of the context of it. And I mean, in that video, she does say at the very end, she's like, hey, my friends were encouraging me to share about my life because I didn't have if you look at my posts, it looks like I didn't have a job, and it's definitely just like a playful post that she was making. But
how have you processed generative AI content on these platforms? Feels like, from our point of view over the last few weeks, we don't use TikTok, but our point of view over the last few weeks is that it's getting really good, and there's like entirely new genre of creators that are just leaning in, and this is the only thing that they're doing. But what's it been like on TikTok?
It's definitely there. I see it more on Instagram Reels than I do on TikTok personally, but there definitely is generative AI content on it yet. I still don't think it's at the level where it like viscerally wins over human-made content. Like we have, all these, repetitive, like viscerally, I just mean like, every person sits and they watch it and they see like which one they spend more time on, which one they're compulsively drawn to. I don't think generative AI content is at the point where it's winning at scale yet, but there are some niches it's really good at. It's honestly really good for like lower budget creators. I see it like a lot from content that feels like it's from not in America. Like it's someone that's maybe not in as pretty of a place, they're in like a country that's not as good, and they, make content that ends up, with generative AI that kind of can represent certain things. And I feel like that's where it's doing well.
I have one more on the generative AI question. I've noticed that it does feel like we're at a tipping point. On Instagram Reels, I'll notice that oftentimes there's AI content, and if I can clock it, I usually go to the comments, and there's other people that are clocking it. And then there's usually a secondary discussion about AI being bad, artist displacement, water usage, electricity, blah, blah, blah. But I recently saw a cinematic AI movie trailer all about the Beckham drama. Have you been following this at all? Are you familiar with this Beckham drama?
What is the Beckham drama here?
I'm not going to explain it well, but Victoria Beckham and David Beckham are having some sort of interfamilial feud of some sort, where the son is posting. Content
we
about
end up
being
in the
unhappy.
Hollywood Reporter once, suddenly John is our new culture expert.
No, but basically, like there's a traditional like big Hollywood celebrity drama story that has bubbled up, and people are making front-facing videos explaining it. The Beckhams themselves are posting about it. There's PR stories about it. But some creator used generative AI to create like a dramatic like movie trailer about it. And what was interesting is that it's obviously clockable as AI, but everyone in the comments, including the actual the tagline on the video, what they upload, the title of the video is like, okay, AI, this is a good use of AI. And everyone in the comments was like, I approve of this use of AI, which is very interesting because truthfully, like there is no one that's getting displaced from that, because if you're not going to go and do $100 million budget video shoot just to make a joke about the Beckham drama. Like maybe that will be made in a few years or something, or Netflix will do something, but you're not displacing anyone. And so it does feel like we're at this turning point, but it requires a lot of context, a lot of human element, a lot of creativity to really break through in a way that reaches like universal acclaim. I don't know if you have a comment on that, but.
No, it's a great point. Like there's, trying to phrase my thoughts exactly here. Generative AI content is widely disliked by people, I think is the starting point. There are lots of people, if you post anything that is generative AI content, you will get comments about, water usage, get comments about, take comments about taking away jobs from artists. And those comments do, tend to go away if people like it more, if it's, high quality AI content. To be honest, I think a lot of the comments about, art and water usage come out of like a place of fear from people of kind of not understanding what the future holds. And it does make me optimistic, honestly, when I hear people say things like, oh, like I like this particular AI usage, even if I think that that's not the right way to think about it. I think that it's a good kind of sign of at least the culture starting to adopt these things. I do think it's going to inevitably happen that people adopt it. Like I'm not really worried about the long term, honestly. I mean, I'm not like a hyper AI optimist. I think that the technology does a lot of positive things. There's also going to be some negatives as a result of it, But I really want.
Yeah, there's also a new kind of content, which is content that could be made by paid actors, but no paid actor would ever agree to, which is like an Epstein reenactment.
Oh, sure.
You've seen some of these, like, memes of like them on like, face swap videos, things like that, where if you ask an actor, like, okay, you're going to play, this like billionaire financier, he's based in New York, and they'd be like, okay, like I'm out, right?
Anyway,
what about other platforms? I feel like content has been flowing from these like IRL streamers pretty heavily into X. There seems to be this whole culture over on Kick.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of those are like clips and highlights, if that makes sense. Like there are people who sit and watch IRL streamers all day, but then a lot of those are kind of second order. Like a lot of those are really kind of content farms to make clips for TikTok, which are then the primary form of consumption. Like there's this guy who I followed for years, World of T-shirts. He's kind of one of my like favorite personal internet creators. He like started as a guy who wandered around New York City and like filmed content, but has gradually become like a live stream. He does like crazy stuff in his real life. Like will kind of like scream at people on the streets. And so he now has like crews of people that follow him around and live stream him. I don't know, very interesting man. But kind of the ecosystem is, yes, you can watch the live stream, but most people kind of watch the highlights of the live stream, which I think is an interesting kind of content farm angle, where at the end of the day, still the center of it is these like short form vertical video apps that can kind of be like the end of the sea for any form of content. Like it all flows into the scroll of these platforms.
The endless scroll.
Feed the trough, as they say.
The pig sound. Talk about publishing in GQ. I want to know both about the process. Have you written for prestige publications before? Or do you enjoy the written form? And then I want to know the thesis of the essay as well.
Yeah, so I wrote, just for your audience knowledge, I wrote a piece about Target for GQ. I didn't go to Target for like 7 years, and then I went again, and so I wrote a piece about that for GQ.
And why'd you stop going?
I stopped going just like I didn't like the brand was essentially it. Like I It's like it's so red and over the top. I preferred. It felt like dishonest to me, basically. Like when I was going inside Walmart's, and Walmart felt more honest.
Huh.
And so, yeah. But like then I kind of, that kind of stopped being true for me. Like I was getting more back into brands in America, and I was like, I'm ready to go back to Target. Also, it's inconvenient. I live in New York City now. I used to live in Peoria, Illinois, which is about equal distribution of Walmarts and Targets. Now in New York City, there are no Walmarts at all. And so if I wanted to go to like a large, convenience store, Target was the only option. And so I was like actually making my life more inconvenient for the first year I lived in New York as a result of following this rule. And so I thought it was just an interesting thing. I mean, the essay is about that, but also kind of about the larger concepts of like purity rules that you follow in life. I think that there's so many rules like that. I mean, people love setting purity rules around their phones right now. A really common, thing that people do of like, oh, I need to have X amount of non-phone time, or I need to set down my,
I can't sleep more than five feet from my phone. I gotta keep it close, or I can't sleep well.
Okay.
The inverse.
Yeah, so I just wrote kind of about like that concept of like purity rules in general, because I thought this was like it's such a silly one. Like the idea of not going to Target is obviously there's no ethical impacts on that, and very little even moral impacts on that, right? It's even aesthetically, like it's very low impact on almost all parts of life, but it's a rule that I followed for a really long time, and so I kind of wrote about that. Yeah, I mean, it kind of just came into being like one of the GQ editors. I have like a long form blog that I post on every once in a while, and he just liked the long form blog and reached out to me and asked if I wanted to write for GQ. Yeah, it was a really cool experience to do. I do really believe in working with editors. It helps a lot to work with, like high quality editors. I studied writing in school, but was never like to get to a professional level. I don't work as a full-time professional writer. And so it was really cool to work with like editors who could help me, refine my voice. I think it was a good experience.
Yeah, it's a great publication. We'll find like an old profile in GQ every once in a while that just breaks down something in a very interesting way. We read a whole deep dive on the history of Richard Mill and stuff in GQ. It's a fascinating publication that I think has been maybe discounted because it's not putting up breaking scoops and news every day. It's not in your face, but there's a lot of really timeless stuff that goes on there. There's more to breathe, more breathing room. It's an interesting canvas to have the opportunity to paint on. That's exciting.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jordy. Yeah, please.
I don't have anything.
I wanted to ask on the question of purity rules. Do you think we're still in a bull market for purity rules? I don't know that I saw a ton more activity in 2026 around New Year's resolutions, people stepping back. There was obviously the big anti-alcohol move, which I see as part of that. I don't know if you'd put that in the same category, but are we becoming more puritanical as a society, less puritanical? Like where do you think culture's moving?
I think culture moves. I mean, I don't know. I don't think there's like a hard direction. I think where culture is setting purity rules more and more is around like phones, like I was saying at the beginning. I think that's kind of the big trend that I would clock for increasing of that. I think that we're clearly getting to a point at which, just maximal pure enjoyment on your phone is not the most pleasant way to live your life. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like just letting yourself get pulled into your phone at all times is not the most pleasant way to live. And I think that we're going to gradually like come up with a set of rules that works for everyone on what the most, the best etiquette on phone usage is. But I don't know what that looks like, but I would expect a lot of like experimentation over the next like 5 years or so to try to figure that out. So yeah, that's my purity rule bet for the next few years is that we'll see a lot more of like phone purity rule usage.
Yeah, that makes sense. Last question from me on New York City. We talked to Adam Faze about how New York is experiencing a boom in content creation, and his analysis was that a lot of it was around TikTok creators and those man-on-the-street style videos. What do you do for a living? If you need a lot of random extras, effectively, there's no place better to do it than specific parks in New York City. Are you experiencing that? Is it annoying? Have you ever been asked, what do you do for a living?
I've had one time where someone approached me for a man on the street video. I kind of just walked away from it. I didn't want to be in it. It's not super common. I do think I love the concept of all these kids coming to New York City because of TikTok or whatever other reason that they're pulled there on the internet. I think it's really magical that, I don't know, it's really cool that they're all kind of pulled to one location. I think if you compare the migration arcs of other generations, right? Like the Gen X people who went to Portland, they're trying to like get away from something. The millennials were kind of going to these like mid-sized cities. I think it's really beautiful that, like Austin and Nashville, Denver.
Yeah.
But I think it's really, like, it really seems like Gen Z. I mean, I am one of the Gen Z people. I guess I'm very old Gen Z. I'm 28.
Sure.
But that I think it's really cool that Gen Z in general, it seems to me, my read on the ground is that they're coming to New York City, like the biggest city they can. It's already established. They just like want to be around other people and participate in these systems.
Yeah.
I think it's really special and cool. Yeah.
I like some of that content. It's interesting when you see a video of someone just like playing music and they're a musician and they could just play it in their apartment, but if they go out in the street, they'll get a stronger reaction. And sure, you could go to Hollywood, but there's just more random people on the street in New York. So a lot of creators have just kind of coalesced around that. Anyway. Jordy.
Yeah.
No, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, this is great.
As these cultural moments pop up, would love to have you back on
This is a
for
lot of
some
fun.
hard-hitting analysis in real time from the source, from the anthropologist. But it's great to hang, and thank you for doing the work.
Yeah, we appreciate everything you do.
Thanks for having me on.
Have a great rest of your day.
Cheers.
Goodbye. Let me tell you about Fin.ai. It's the #1 AI agent for customer service. If you want AI to handle your customer support, go to Fin.ai.
We have some breaking news.
Yes.
Breaking news is, without further ado,
what is it?
Brex has been acquired by Capital One. Hit that gong, $5 billion. Boom. Wrong header there, boys.
We already discussed. Hunter in the chat was asking if we already discussed OpenAI planning to take a cut of customers' discoveries. There was some back and forth. We did discuss that a little bit, Hunter. But thanks for showing up in the chat. Always good to see you, as always.
So Capital One strikes $5.15 billion deal for fintech Brex. Deal would give credit card issuer access to technology used by thousands of companies for corporate credit cards.
Interesting.
Brex, of course, was valued at $12.3 billion in 2022. They hadn't raised in a while outside of, I believe, a debt facility.
Yeah.
But anyways, I think this deal makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Brex.
Well, when we had Pedro on, the CEO of Brex, we talked to him about how they were doing more enterprise offerings. They were starting to explore some of this, powering businesses behind the scenes. Right? Wasn't that?
Yeah. So they had that deal with Fifth Third Bank. Fifth Third.
It's a real mouthful.
Third Bank. It's they were the Fifth Third Bank.
Yes.
So wow. Anyway, so a little more details. $5.15 billion in cash and stock in a deal that give the card issuer more firepower with corporate clients. Brex, founded nearly a decade ago, offers corporate credit cards, expenses, and rewards. It also oversees nearly $13 billion in deposits held at partner banks and money market funds. Acquisition comes at a key moment in the payment world as fintech and crypto firms threaten to siphon business away from banks. Some established players have looked to team up with these firms to stay competitive. Capital One, with roughly $670 billion in assets, not bad. Obviously acquired Discover last year for $35 billion.
Paribus. You know this,
no
right?
way.
Yeah, Capital
That's
One
crazy.
bought Eric Gleiman and Karim Attia's previous
company. I knew that, but I didn't
and
put
they
that
spent
together.
a brief stint at Capital One. Capital One is they want Silicon Valley founders, and they want the companies that they built.
This is so funny because I was with Art, the chief business officer at Brex, hanging out. He was hanging out with my neighbor Ben. I saw him like less than probably a week ago. He was hanging out at the beach, and I'm sure he was
like, I got something cooking. I've been doing
excited for this news to hit the timeline. How much did they actually raise?
No, but it's a big number and it's big business. And so congrats to everyone over there. Let me tell you about Labelbox, reinforcement learning environments, voice, robotics, evals, and expert human data. Labelbox is the data factory behind the world's leading AI teams. We have Cathie Wood joining in just a few minutes. We can play this video about AI industry news every 2 weeks. We saw this on Instagram Reels, and I was cracking up because it feels like this comedian on Instagram.
And just to close the loop, Brex had
Yes.
raised a total of $1.67 billion in combined equity and debt financing. So, anyways,
pretty good.
certainly going well beyond the pref
Yes.
stack and solid outcome.
Fantastic.
Great outcome.
Congratulations to all of them. So Advit Mohunta says, can these AI products stop going against each other? And he plays a video called AI Industry News every 2 weeks. Let's see if we can play it. Is it available? We might need to come back to that. In the meantime, let me tell you about AppLovin, profitable advertising made easy with Axon.ai. Get access to over 1 billion daily active users and grow your business today. And without further ado, we have Cathie Wood in the Restream waiting room. Let's bring her in to the TBPN Ultra Dome. She is the CEO of ARK Investment.
Welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. How are you doing?
Oh, thrilled. I'm so happy to meet you. I've heard so much about you.
too.
Congratulations on all your success.
Thank you. Thank you. How is your 2026 going so far?
It's great. It really is. I wrote a New Year's letter.
Yes.
And then we put out Big Ideas yesterday. And it's been a whirlwind. I feel this is a very important year for us.
And is AI the only thing that you're tracking? Is it as all-encompassing in your world as it has been in ours?
It is by far the biggest catalyst to innovation out there today. But we're very focused on our 5 major platforms, and AI is involved in every one of them.
Sure.
So robotics, energy storage, AI itself, blockchain technology, and multi-omic sequencing in the life science space. And so we're really focused on the convergence among those platforms.
Yes.
They involve 15 different technologies. And so AI is part and parcel of all the convergences taking place today.
Yes. And how are you setting up the firm to actually cover those 5 trends? What does the team look like? Who do you like to work with? And what are the keys to success to growing a career at ARK?
That's a great question. We have set ourselves up very differently from traditional asset management research. In that world, the research responsibilities are organized by sector or industry or sub-industry. And in fact, many firms are very proud that they have 5 different healthcare analysts following very narrow silos of companies, or 5 consumer analysts. We have set up ARK around this idea that these technologies are converging and are going to impact every sector, every industry. So our analyst research responsibilities are broken down by technologies. So the 15 different technologies involved in those 5 innovation platforms. So, and what they are looking for is, okay, how is this technology going to scale across sectors? How big is this opportunity going to be? I don't think traditional research is set up to do that. I think to really understand how big the opportunities are going to be out there, you almost have to set up research this way.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you're famous for taking very large positions, very concentrated positions in really important companies. What does it look like to get comfortable with a new management team, a new CEO? Is it just endless phone calls, meeting in person? Do you have any rules for how you grow a relationship over time with a new business leader who you think is working on a breakout technology?
Well, I think very important is understanding the background of the new business leaders. You know, I've been in the business for a very long time. I actually started in college in the late 70s, and while most of my career had...
Overnight success.
And it's a true overnight success. We love it.
No, but I know a lot of people out there.
Of course.
And I've always loved the part of our business where I get to meet the people making making these companies happen. So I'm a devout follower of talent, where it's going, where it has come from. I usually have some frame of reference that I can use as a line of questioning, just to see, is this the kind of leader and the right leader for this company at this time?
How do you? What's your framework for understanding if a management team or a CEO is really set up for this AI transition that every company is going through? Because every CEO wants to say that they're getting the most out of AI, they're getting the most efficiency, they're running the most pilots, et cetera. But clearly, many companies are just kind of, doing the demos, but not actually evolving their businesses.
So now, are you speaking about more in the startup world, or are you talking about enterprises?
Both really. It's everything from a company, like an enterprise software company, maybe a system of record that is looking to evolve. All the way through like a manufacturing company who maybe has been using robotics for years, and so they're like, I don't really see why people are so.
We've seen a number of founder CEOs that have been completely reinvigorated by the AI boom. They've built a great business, but you can tell that they're completely in a new gear, working harder than ever. There's also legacy players that just placed the right bets at the right time, and they're just paying off and reaping the reward. And then there are some big company CEOs who it does feel like they got caught a little flat-footed and have to adjust their business models.
Yes. And the way we do our research, and again, a lot of people know us for our top-down research, so the big ideas that came out last night. We are as bottom-up stock research-driven or equity research-driven as any other team you'll find out there. That's where I came from. So we took, from a top-down point of view, 2 years ago, in Big Ideas, we took the position that, because we were seeing it play out in the numbers, that the tech stack would change. That you have the infrastructure layer, which of course very strong. You have the platform as a service layer, poster child for that, Palantir, was gaining share, significant share. And then you had application layers, software as a service, growing, but losing share of incremental growth. We put that chart in. And we had no idea how quickly this was all going to happen. Software stocks, more traditional software stocks last year were terrible. And even this year, they're still suffering. So AI is happening faster, I think, than anyone could have imagined. Anyone who thought they had time to adapt, I think, has been mistaken. And I even see it with large enterprises when we go in there and ask them, okay, what's your AI strategy? They treated it in the beginning like, we'll let our teams experiment with all these new tools coming up, ChatGPT. No. That's not the way this is going to work. There's going to have to be complete restructuring around AI, or else you're probably going to fail. Maybe not outright, but you'll become irrelevant. So I think even ARC, for example, we have brought in Palantir. We're only 70 people, but we've brought in Palantir, and I can see, we brought it into research first. Sure. I wanted to see how could we transform our research process. And we're already seeing incredible results in terms of productivity gains by the research team. But I can see that in the rest of the firm, it is going to take, first of all, you have to have someone other than the CTO, and that's true even in our case, saying, we're doing this. We're doing this. Our research is telling us this is the way the world's going. we cannot be caught flat-footed. And so I really think you need the CEO, not the CTO, CEO, CFO, to drive this change. And I think, many people think, oh, the results are so immediate. And they are with our writing and editing, perhaps. But when you're trying to transform an enterprise, it's hard work. You have to collect all the data, even data that you didn't know existed. So you have to figure that out. You have to clean it up. You have to integrate it. You have to map out workflows in excruciating detail. And that all takes time. And a lot of people in this world are impatient. They don't see results right away. But I think the results are going to pay off. I think the way Palantir is doing it, just put its software on top of legacy, no rip and replace, and over time it will usurp the role of all of those that inefficient legacy software. So I think it's going to take time in the enterprise. And I know there was the MIT study that said, hey, this isn't happening. This is a figment of Silicon Valley's imagination. And we disagree mightily on that.
That's good.
How are you hoping to see the private markets evolve in the next 5 years or so? We've seen this tremendous growth of companies like OpenAI, Anthropic, et cetera, these sort of leading labs that are happening all in the private markets. And if people really, really work hard, they can probably figure out how to get exposure to them, but certainly it's been cut off. And I know you guys have your the private side of the business as well, but any sort of wishes or hopes in terms of how the interaction between the private market and the public market can evolve?
Well, I think the lines are going to start blurring a bit, hopefully, because the SEC under Paul Atkins is going to get rid of all of the regulations and bureaucracy, and I do think his aim is in that direction. In terms of the private markets, I think we're starting to see venture capital firms move into crossover funds because, well, first of all, there was a big arbitrage opportunity. When innovation in the public markets was getting crucified, and believe me, we were the poster child for that. I think a lot of these funds were looking at the valuations in the private markets so much higher than in the public markets that kind of started the conversation going. And then, of course, this administration is talking more and more about the democratization of opportunities. And venture, of course, being a big one. And, this idea that you have to be accredited in order to have access to companies that our investors, the younger investors in particular, they don't have the net worth or even the annual income, but they know more about these technologies than many of the institutions investing in venture. So, we felt it was important to open it up and to be very complementary to what's going on out there. We're not taking board seats, we're not leading, but we are putting out research, and we are willing to bring visibility to companies in our venture fund. And we're bringing, a new kind of investor who really has been yearning for this opportunity for years.
Want to talk about Bitcoin, and specifically there was news yesterday Coinbase is rolling out an advisory firm on quantum computing and blockchain. There's obviously been kind of FUD, people talking about the potential implications for quantum and Bitcoin and crypto broadly. How are you thinking about the asset today? I know this is certainly a topic that you've talked about many, many times on CNBC and other shows, but we'd love to hear the latest.
Sure. First, I'll start with quantum. So in our Big Ideas report, and it's in the first section called The Great Acceleration, there is a page in there, I think it's titled, Some Interesting Technologies Will Not Be Disruptive for 20 to 40 Years. And Brett Winton, our chief futurist, and with that title, chief futurist, you've got to be thinking about these things and coming up with analyses that either support or refute the conventional wisdom out there. So if you go in, you'll see a very interesting chart. Google has doubled its number of qubits. It's taken 4 years for them to do that. So it's even slower than Moore's law in the semiconductor space. And so what Brett did was illustrate, okay, let's assume they accelerate progress here, if they can, to a Moore's law pace. Okay, then in 2044, let's talk about quantum computing and the risks that are in sort of the whole blockchain technology infrastructure, particularly Bitcoin. So we are not worried. We are seeing whales, so the OGs, they are shifting Bitcoin from wallet to wallet because of quantum fears. So that's happening, but it's also created some FUD for the markets. Are they selling because they know something we don't know? Are they selling simply because they don't want to go through the downside of another 4-year cycle? Have we hit the low at down only 35% this time instead of 85%? So we're in that kind of a market, and I do think we're in a basing period, which really started 1010 on 1010, the flash crash. It was the software glitch at Binance, caused a lot of auto deleveraging. It was kind of crazy to learn about that kind of deleveraging, meaning firms who thought they were hedged if they were on 2 different exchanges, and Binance was one of them, they were auto deleveraged on one side of a trade, and so they were totally exposed in a way they never expected. That caused, we think, $28 billion of carnage. And we think that is washing through the system. We are very positive on Bitcoin for the 3 reasons I always say. It's a new technology, really important. It is a new and a first rules-based, global, private, meaning no government oversight, monetary system. That's huge. That is huge. That is its calling card. Big hedge against inflation and a hedge against deflation if we end up in a banking crisis like 0809. And it is the leader of a new asset class. Many people are looking at gold and they're saying, well, wait a minute, gold has doubled in the last year or so. Bitcoin's way behind. Well, if you start the clock at the end of the bear market in 22, gold is up, I think, 170%, and these are maybe dated by a couple of weeks, and Bitcoin by 360%. So we think that Bitcoin. Oh, what happened?
That was just a little air horn we used. You said 360%. It was a nice number.
Sound effects over here, not to be jarring.
They didn't prepare me for this. Anyway, okay. So
did they brief you about our flashbang? we will save that one for another time. But yes, sorry. Continue, please.
So I'll just say it's very interesting over the full market cycle from 20 to now. Gold and Bitcoin's correlation it's almost non-existent. Hardly anything. But we think Bitcoin is especially as intergenerational wealth transfer takes place in the next 5 to 10 years. It is the digital gold. and its supply growth is lower than gold's will be.
Yeah.
And especially now that the gold price is up, miners can go out there, they're being paid to find even more. So that can't happen with Bitcoin. So
Yeah.
I think in a big ideas you'll see we expect Bitcoin to scale to $16 trillion in market cap by 2030, and it's below 2 now. So
Yeah. Can you talk about the name of the fund? Where did the name come from? What does it mean?
The name of the company?
ARK, yeah.
ARK, yeah. So there are two ways to talk about this. I can talk about this from a regulatory point of view or the personal point of view, and I'm happy to share both.
Please. I would love that.
Okay, so the ARK was the name I chose for a personal reason. I'll get into that. But I was, or we were told by the, I think it was SEC, that we could not have all caps.
Okay.
We had to have lowercase r and k, unless it was an acronym.
Oh.
And so, as soon as we got that word, immediately I thought, okay, active, research, knowledge.
Okay.
Active means more in the public world because there's passive in the public world. Doesn't mean as much in the venture world.
Yeah.
So that's why we have it in all caps. The personal reason was in 2006, I decided I needed to figure a way out of the traditional asset management world because it was going passive, it was going benchmark sensitive, which means you take the QQQ, so the NASDAQ 100, if that's your benchmark, then you pretty much invest in all of those companies and tweak a little bit here, a little bit there. That's what benchmark sensitive is. To me, that's not investing. And in fact, so back then, I would just, I was trying to figure out how to do this because if I quit my prior position, I would have lost all of my deferred comp, which was sizable.
Yeah.
And so I worked, took me 7 years, should I say 7 lean years, but whatever, 7 years. And I just used to open the Bible, and this started in 2006, open the Bible. Okay, God, just tell me, this seems like an impossible situation. What do I do? Just help me. And how many times did I hit Ark of the Covenant?
Yeah.
Ark of the Covenant, which is what the Israelites took into battle before them, believing it was the presence of God and that they would be protected because they were going into battle. And so it kind of was appropriate. I was going counter the pendulum swing to passive and benchmark sensitive. And, especially after COVID, a lot of people they just thought we were going to fail because this was not the way to do things.
How do you think about the relationship between religion and markets? I've always been fascinated. We've had Pat Gelsinger on the show, and there's been a number of times when he was either quoting scripture or Bible verses, and people were sort of reading into that, how he was processing what's going on at Intel at the time. I would love to know more about the interaction between religion and investing because it's so rarely discussed, but it's a fascinating topic and crossover.
Yeah, it is interesting. So, I can say I was moved in the way, you could, the way I think about what happened there and what I just described is many people would use the universe. They're responding to the universe or the force or the Holy Spirit or the, right? So we're all moved by something. Sometimes it's unhappiness, whatever. I use prayer as other people would use meditation, let's say. And I certainly don't go in there, day to day and say, okay, God, what should I do? Buy or sell this stock? No, not at all. Not at all. I would say it's those moments of meditation that bring mental clarity. You clean the clean the brain waves out or whatever. And that's more. It's also, I would say it's a way of living just generally.
Yeah. Sorry, not to completely change gears, but back to AI productivity. I want your reaction to this Wall Street Journal report yesterday that it showed that CEOs reported that 20% of the C-suite executives that the Journal interviewed said that they were saving 12 hours a day or 12 hours a week, some massive number. And then they polled workers, and 40% of workers said they're saving no time with AI. And I'm wondering if what your read on that is it that one thing that we were kind of kicking around as an idea was potentially that the work of the C-suite executive is more ready to be transformed by AI because, like, in your role, you are a CEO, you do a lot of research. Every question that you're faced with over the course of a day in your life, you probably want more information, you want it neatly organized and delivered to you, and AI is uniquely good at that, whereas many workers might not be in that level of information processing role. But how do you think that this is going to be a report from the Journal that we look back on, like that MIT study where it was just sort of an anomaly in the data and everything continues unabated?
Well, this is a survey, of course, right?
Yeah.
It's not quantitatively measured. And
Sure.
So what could be going on is, the C-suite is really trying to lead the charge into the AI world.
Yeah.
And we're all in the knowledge industry. It's going to change everyone's job dramatically.
Yeah.
So those who are saying it's not saving me any time, I don't believe, or they're not harnessing any tools.
Mm-hmm.
What I do believe is they are saving time, and if they're saying they're not, then it might be going to a longer lunch hour or, an earlier end of the day. The history of technology is that it increases productivity and the number of work hours goes down over time. During the Industrial Revolution, big decline in number of work hours. Farmers used to have to work 6.5 days a week or whatever. And, their families, the children, they got room and board. There wasn't much more. Yeah. But then they went out into the working world. So the farmers and these unpaid family members, their work week got shorter. And I think that's part of what's going on.
Yeah. We've been tracking the optimism around AI and progress sort of loosely along two axes. There's a view that GDP will start growing as AI diffuses and we go into a new technical revolution. We're already seeing some green shoots on the GDP figures, but it's still early. We're not at 10% GDP growth, but that's what some AI leaders are predicting. But then you also have the employment question, and there's some leaders of AI labs that say the future will be high GDP growth, high unemployment, which seems like it will have, significant social consequences, and we will have to grapple with that as a society and deal with those problems. But I'm wondering if you have a view between what we should expect in a decade from AI as it rolls out. Do you fall into that camp of high GDP growth, high unemployment, or are you more, the jobs, we'll find new jobs, and so maybe we will see an economic boom, but we will also still all find ways to, fill our time during the day with employment?
Yeah, I think that one of the reasons this question is popping up more and more, well, first of all, is our imaginations, but also because the unemployment rate for 16 to 24-year-olds has increased much more than the overall unemployment rate. It's now up to double digits, 12%. The average duration of unemployment, the average, is about 24 weeks. And so that's kind of scary. A lot of entry-level jobs are going unfilled. In other words, maybe the people answering that survey are now being faced with the reality that, wait a minute, they're not going to hire someone to come in and handle this grunt work. I have to do that too. Maybe that's what's happening at the low end to give them some credibility, or at the lower end there. We're in the camp, and you'll find this in Big Ideas as well. We've been saying this for a while, and at first when we said it, we probably said it 3 years ago for the first time, we think there's going to be a step function change here in real GDP growth, just as there is with every technology supercycle. So just to illustrate that, in the 400 years between 1500 and 1900, Brett Winton, working with academia, found out or learned that real GDP growth was 0.6%. Then we had railroads, internal combustion engine, telephone, electricity, and it went to 3% for the next 125 years. Here we are. We think it's going north of 7%. And that's conservative. That's conservative. I think it's conservative, really productivity driven.
Yes.
and we think that that this is one of the greatest times to start a business. When I started ARC, there was no ChatGPT to say, okay, do a deck for my startup because this is what I want to do. There wasn't anything like that. I had to create everything. Now you can look at an unmet need out there and say, hey, ChatGPT, or hey, Grok, come help me build this business, right? So we think that fears of unemployment, sure, there's displacement short term, but think about what's also happening. 1.3 million baby boomers are retiring every year, right? And we've just had, or we're in the midst of, an exodus of immigrants, and you know, little in-migration. So that, I think, is helping keep the unemployment rate low. But entry-level jobs can be done by AI. And so that's what we're seeing at the younger level. And so what I say to young people is, you all in your mind have thought of a new business that would really fulfill an unmet need, something that frustrates you. Why don't you do it and use AI to do it, to plan it, and just get going while you also look for a job if you're unemployed. I think we're going to see the biggest entrepreneurial explosion in history.
I love it. I love it. Thank you. We got to hit the gong for 7% GDP growth. We have a gong around here.
I love the sound of that.
We have real sound effects in addition to the soundboard.
Thank you so much for joining.
Yes, please.
Can I just give you one more stat?
Yes, please, please.
We think inflation will go negative.
Whoa. I love that.
Yes, and that's technology.
Yes. This is amazing. This is a very optimistic picture of the future, and I'd love to hear it. Thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show and explain all of that. A very wide-ranging conversation. I love the history and the personal story and everything that you're doing. So thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to come
John,
chat with a bunch of people with a funny soundboard.
We
will see you later. Hopefully we made a good impression, and you will be back soon.
You did. Now I know why you're famous.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye. Have a great day. Jordy. Oh, that was amazing. Plaid. Plaid powers the apps you use to spend, save, borrow, and invest, securely connecting bank accounts to move money, fight fraud, and improve lending, now with AI. Go and check it out.
I couldn't keep it together, the chat, the whole time.
I know, the chat was going insane.
I was fighting for my life.
Oh my God, the chat was
every
going
time I look up at the screen, I was just trying to enjoy a conversation.
It was just wall-to-wall flashbang, and I'm just trying to hold it together. I love you guys, the chat. I love you, but also you make the job a little difficult sometimes.
That was the hardest battle of my life.
That was insane. And there's nowhere to look because I look at the chat, I look at Tyler, I look at my phone, I have 100 notifications. I assume it's people texting me to pull the flashbang. And also, by the way, I can't trigger the flashbang. That's Jordy exclusive. We need to smoke to clear the air. We need to tell you about Gemini 3 Pro, Google's most intelligent model yet, next level vibe coding, state-of-the-art reasoning, and deep multimodal understanding.
Okay, so some news. So we're going to have Pedro from Brex is going to join. We're working on getting him on.
Amazing.
Delian's also going to join separately, of course.
Yeah,
so I don't know who's coming on first.
Fun show.
We can, whoever's in the waiting room.
But we have another guest jumping on right now. We have Jon.
Yeah, we're gonna push. We're gonna push Jon just because the stories.
And he's okay. He has some time, so we'll hop on with him later in the show. Fantastic. Well, before we bring in our next guest, let's tell you about Public.com. I saw someone in the chat asking for Public.com. Read. Here it is. Investing for those who take it seriously. Stocks, options, bonds, crypto, treasuries, and more with amazing customer service.
I've never cried on air before.
This is a unique experience. The chat is a wild experience. Wild experience. But thank you to everyone who's been supporting. She was a great sport. Had a bunch of interesting things to share, and I truly do love the optimistic view because we had actually written a chart for high growth, high GDP growth, high employment, low GDP growth, and we were trying to track where the other AI leaders were because Dario, of course, came out and said, I think we'll have high GDP growth and I think we'll have high unemployment. I think there's going to be a lot of labor displacement. And me and Jordy and Tyler were going back and forth on where we all sit. Where does the U.S. sit right now? Where do different leaders feel like the world is going if they're charted on this two-axis chart? And I kind of jokingly put myself all the way in the most optimistic camp. I said 10% GDP growth and less than 5% unemployment. I don't know if I have it in myself to truly believe that. I do think that there might be some gyrations in the employment market, but it was great to hear it from her, and we appreciate her taking the time to come hang out with us while we throw soundboards and flashbangs around. Anyway, it sounds like we have someone in the Restream waiting room.
Who do we got?
Oh, well,
Jon, we got Jon. Let's bring Jon in.
Let's bring Jon in to the TBPN Ultra Dome. Jon, thank you so much for taking the time. Been a bit of a crazy show.
Look at this setup. This is incredible.
What do you have behind you?
The home library. What else would it be?
Incredible. Okay,
give us some recommendations. What's the best thing on that?
There's an incredible history of Houston rap music that I highly recommend on this book.
What era? Like
this is like Screw era, like Screw into Paul
is it like
Wall,
Mike Jones. Yeah, okay. That's what I
everything that led up to that moment.
Oh, interesting. Okay, very cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you so much.
So,
quick introduction.
This was the last 15 minutes or so have been one of the more chaotic that we've ever had. We had Cathie Wood on talking about a variety of theses she has on markets. Our chat, we have some sound effects. Our chat just kept telling us to spam the sound effects, and I couldn't keep it together. But we're super excited to have you on here.
Thank you so much for taking the time.
Yesterday was kind of a funny experience. Somebody sent me the video that you posted with the rugby. And we only made like 100 of those. We gave them out to friends. We would have happily sent you one if we knew you were in the market. But of course,
I was tapped in.
Yeah,
you were tapped in.
You found it.
You were tapped in.
You found it online.
So I'm glad. Even though it was bootleg, I'm glad that it looked great.
It looked great
in the video.
Great. Yeah. There it is. Well, we have sent out an official TBPN in the mail. It should be arriving any day.
And what did it smell like when it arrived from Canada?
Okay, so can I be candid? Can I be candid with you?
Yes,
of course.
I feel like we can be candid.
Yeah, of course.
When this package arrived in my package room in my building, it looked like it had been assembled by a small child. It was packed into like a mailer, like a regular mailer that was tattered at the edges.
No.
It had a label from Canada.
Yeah.
And there was a full retinue of packing tape layers, like 4 or 5 layers on top of the mailing label. I opened the package. I had ordered one.
Yeah.
I got 2.
You got 2. Okay.
I got 2. So there's a bonus one if you guys.
Let's
go.
I'll send it over.
Thank you. Do a swap.
Smelled like cigarettes.
No.
Smelled like cigarettes.
Wait, so you think a child was smoking cigarettes? Selling bootleg
a
TBPN
cigarette
merch.
smoking child is selling bootleg TBPN merch.
Known fumar. Yeah. But I will say, as a clothing connoisseur, when I saw the images that you guys had posted of your polo, I was like, incredibly high quality material.
Yes.
I could see it in the photos. I knew that the embroidery would be like robust to the touch. I knew. I get this.
Yeah.
Oh,
this looks like it was made from, you get like a 10-pack of terry cloths.
No.
Amazon Basics.
No.
Not good.
Yeah, see, this was the issue. A lot of people, when I posted that we had, that there was bootleg merch floating around, and a lot of people are like, oh, what's the issue? Like, you guys are a podcast. It's not your core business. We don't make merch to make money, right? But the issue was like I knew people would buy it and they'd get it and they'd be like, "This is low quality."
Of course,
and we care a lot about quality.
Yeah,
I was like, but on the flip side, you guys are popping and you're getting bootlegged. So mazel tov. Congratulations.
It's a good indicator.
Yeah, thank you. Anyway, sorry. For your first time on the show, please introduce yourself for everyone who might not be familiar.
Sure. My name is Jon Caramanica. I am a pop music critic at the New York Times. I am the co-host of Popcast, which is our pop culture talk show.
Yeah.
Check us out, youtube.com/popcast.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Get a sticker.
Yeah. And then the reel that started this whole thing on Instagram. Break down the thesis, and then just to clarify, none of the footage in that is AI generated, correct?
No.
Okay.
But I just look like that.
I mean, no. It's something about like the camera movement and your dancing was like a little bit of like, whoa, there's a lot going on. Okay. Well,
movie magic, baby.
Movie magic.
But
what was the thesis?
Every week. So every week we do a song of the week. It's not necessarily a pure endorsement. It's usually a song that's reflective of a bigger idea in pop music. Obviously, we've been talking a lot about AI and pop in recent months. We had a big episode on that before the holidays. I listened to the Bruno Mars song that just came out, and I was like, if you had told me that this is just some guy trained on the pop charts of 1972 and made this, I would have totally believed it.
Yeah.
So typically we film in my car. My car, unfortunately, is in the shop. So we went up to the South Bronx and filmed a dance video in my mechanic's garage.
That's awesome. I mean, it's a beautiful set. I don't know what you shot that on, but it is like, it's a beautiful like piece of media.
Did you go to the Bruno Mars concert in the Steal a Brain Rot game in Roblox?
What?
Did you not hear about this?
No. What are you talking about?
I know about this, but I don't.
So Bruno Mars played a concert in the game Steal a Brain Rot in Roblox, which by itself, just reading that sentence, it kind of feels like it would give you brain rot. So I guess you are kind of stealing a brain rot. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, well, let's zoom out and talk about AI music. We were talking about it earlier, and I've always been on this train where the AI tools are incredible. It's hard to tell the difference, but they're always, whenever I see a viral piece of AI media like Harry Potter Balenciaga, I return to the fact that AI didn't come up with the concept. AI was used to instantiate the idea that was created from a human. And in fact, after Harry Potter Balenciaga, I went to, I think, ChatGPT, and I said, here's this thing that's going viral. They're mashing up a kid's classic with an iconic fashion brand. It's this high-low, create a new viral video concept that will absolutely take over the internet. And it just was like Star Wars, Louis Vuitton. And it was like, that's not actually going to break through in the way that Harry Potter Balenciaga did, because it's not innovative. It's not the first time it's had something happen. And I'm wondering, like, how much do you think you're seeing music that's like purely just the AI did it, or it's more of a tool? Like, how are you processing the AI music boom right now?
Sure. One note on the Harry Potter Balenciaga thing, you know that there is an actual Balenciaga Fortnite collaboration.
Really?
Are you aware of that?
No, I'm not. Wow.
So when Demna, who until recently was the creative director of Balenciaga, had a really, I would say, a robust sense of humor and irony about the types of clothing that he made.
Sure.
And a lot of times he did some unlikely garment collaborations, and there's a sanctioned Balenciaga Fortnite, I think it's a hoodie, maybe a shirt, 2 or 3 pieces. So they were, the troll out-trolled the AI.
There you go. Yeah.
As far as AI as a music tool, one of the things I think is causing a lot of people anxiety right now is you look at some of these artists who are cut from whole cloth, right? Solomon Ray purports to be a soul musician, but really it's just a guy running a bunch of Anthony Hamilton songs through a program and coming out with a new one, probably, allegedly. Now, that doesn't scare me, because eventually Spotify, Apple are going to say there's going to be some banner, some badge that's like, this is not a real person, to the extent that that matters. Here's what I think is interesting.
Or it's not fair use, and we need to shuffle the revenue over there. And so you're effectively
that's going to happen in the same way that sampling had many years
and mashups.
Shadows, and then everything kind of came into formality. That's going to happen with AI, and frankly, it's going to happen much faster.
I agree.
What I think is interesting is if you go into any songwriter producer studio in Los Angeles right now, which is where all the sort of hits are written typically, the hierarchy of that room is typically famous person, famous person's guy, you know, like songwriter, helper, melody person, a name producer who you probably maybe would have heard of, one or two songwriters, and then one or two kind of studio hands who are sort of like moving the knobs. I would bet anything that in every single one of those sessions, one of those low-level folks is already deploying AI in unexpected ways. There's an interview with Teddy Swims, who's like a moderately successful pop star, a couple of months ago, and he said, oh yeah, AI, I use that to multi-track my vocals. I use that to try out, what if I change the key? What's it gonna sound like?
Sure.
I would bet anything that in the same way that auto-tune was quietly used for a long time and then became completely accepted, these AI tools are gonna get used and deployed in these not totally discernible to the ear ways, but in terms of workflow and process, I bet they're already there in everything we're listening to, especially on pop radio.
I heard an interesting story from a friend about a friend of theirs who was a backup studio singer whose work went to basically zero because they were working on tracks that were just meant to be demos so that a songwriter could share it with different labels or artists or whatever. And then suddenly it's like, you don't need somebody to go into the studio to like sing your song. You just like prompt it. And so, I think.
You're obviously a student of history. We talked about the books behind you.
I've read them all.
What anecdotes can you share about previous technologies rolling out in music, backlash to electronic drum machines, backlash to electronic music? Give me some more, what are you drawing on for its corollary?
Okay, so, I mean, the story that I think becomes really, it looms large in a lot of people's mind, Dylan going electric, right?
Yeah.
This is an era of folk music where everybody's like, you know what's authentic is me. I don't smell great. I'm strumming on an acoustic guitar. I perform at 4 cafes a night in the village. We all hang out and write together and have sex with each other. And that's the scene. Yeah. And then Dylan sees what's happening with technology and sees what's happening, especially with the guitar. And the electric guitar has become a creative tool for an entire legion of rock musicians. And Dylan brings it to the Newport Folk Festival and says, I'm plugging in. I don't care what you guys think. And of course, people call him Judas and say that he's doing heresy. And the fact is, he's just following. He was a follower at that point. I also mentioned auto-tune earlier. You may remember Jay-Z put out a song called DOA, Death of Auto-Tune. This is at the peak of T-Pain.
Yeah.
T-Pain is dominating radio with essentially computer music that sounds a lot like Zapp and Roger from the late 70s into the early 80s, that kind of like synthetic funk music that was really popular after like the Earth, Wind, and Fires of the world. T-Pain comes along, formalizes it, becomes a go-to songwriter, producer, and collaborator, and all of a sudden, everything on the radio sounds like a computer. Jay-Z comes along with Death of Autotune and says, actually stop all that. And then people were like, that's nice, old man. Like, let's keep it pushing. And autotune is now widely accepted in every genre. You hear it in country music, you hear it in pop, you hear it in reggaeton, you hear it in hip-hop. These questions that were sort of like anxious critical discourses when they emerged, nobody really gives two thoughts to anymore. I think that's probably what's going to happen 12 to 24 months from now with AI.
Yeah, I want to go so much deeper and have you back to spend way more time with all this. I'm interested in your thoughts on the downstream implications of AI music, because I could imagine that if you're a particular artist that can create one of those like Shelling points where there's a specific tour that everyone's talking about, you gotta go see the Eras tour, or this particular tour at the Sphere was something that so many people took Instagram reels of and posted that everyone just knows it's real. It creates this proof of authenticity. I'm wondering what other downstream effects are you thinking about as artists react to competition from some anonymous person with AI that can create music that's maybe indistinguishable, so they got to specialize?
Here's the thing. Here's the anxiety that it brings up for me. And I think it's an anxiety that I've long felt before AI posed itself as a problem. I'm a very intense listener. It's my job, but also just even before it was my job, I was always an intense listener. You guys may or may not be intense. I don't know.
Sure.
What I can tell you is that for every person like me, there's 50 people who are casual listeners, which is to say they press play on a Spotify playlist and walk away. And don't think too hard about what the second song is or the fifth song is.
They're not studying. They're listening.
They're not studying. And they're not preoccupied. They're not every song that comes on. They don't do a gut check with themselves and say, do I like this? Am I curious about this? Is this an artist I respect? They just kind of let it go in the background. Everything is dentist office music. It's moving in that direction. There are plenty of real life artists who are making music like that. And those are the people who have been shutting out some of the bigger and more creative people. AI accelerates that process, but AI didn't start that process. And I think what it's also going to accelerate is more and more people as consumers are going to get trained to try to not pay too close attention to the specifics of what they're listening to.
Okay. I have 50 more questions, but we do have to move on. But thank you so much for hopping on short notice.
Do you want me to burn this?
No, keep it. It has lore now. We've discussed it on the show. It lives on forever in the Instagram reel. It's great. I love it.
One thing I'll say before I go is that many of my favorite rap shirts from the 90s are all bootlegs. This may turn out to be the $1,000 shirt 20 years from now.
Maybe it has lore now. It's been discussed on the show. Well, thank you so much.
Let's actually schedule your next appearance today. We'd love to have you back on.
Yeah, there's so much more
so
much
longer. I have a bunch more questions. You guys are killing it. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. You too. We'll talk to you soon.
Great to hang.
Goodbye.
Talk soon.
The New York Stock Exchange. Want to change the world? Raise capital at the New York Stock Exchange. And
Pedro is in the waiting room.
We have
We're
Pedro
bring him on
from
in.
Brex.
$5 billion
the gong ready. Wow, what a day. Pedro, how are you doing? How are you feeling? Congratulations.
How are you guys? Thank
Good
you
to
so
see
much.
you.
We're super pumped. Good to see you as well.
Give us the news.
day.
How'd this come together? What happened? I want to ring the gong.
Yeah. So today we're announcing the largest bank fintech merger in history between Brex and Capital One. I'll let you go for it. Go for it. 5.15 billion.
Incredible.
Congratulations.
Thank you. We're really excited about this.
Yeah.
And as we thought about this, right, Capital One is the first fintech ever. They invented this concept of bringing technology into financial services.
That's right.
And as we got to know them, what we realized was there was a really obvious 1 + 1 = 5 scenario here. And really, when we look at the sort of field that they operate, it was completely different than anywhere else compared to Brex. They had hundreds of millions of consumers, millions of businesses, $150 billion of market cap, $900 billion in card GMV. And really the way that we thought about this is when we combine the product that we built at Brex, right, we created this new category of company that brings financial services and software under one platform to help customers make better financial decisions, right? And we combine this with, the product and the platform with Capital One's unprecedented scale, brand, distribution, and balance sheet. We have this unique opportunity to accelerate our go-to-market and product with a level of investment that we would never be able to match as a standalone company. So it's really about how do we build the most important financial platform for businesses in the U.S. And this is such a unique combination of being two founder-led companies that fundamentally believe in growth and being here to win.
They always say, what's the phrase? Like you meet your acquirer,
years before any deal happens. Yeah.
How
when did you meet Capital One?
How did the conversations first start?
So I've heard of Rich and the Capital One team for many years. Actually, even when I was back in Brazil, they were already an inspiration. And these guys have been building in fintech for a long time. They invented this idea of bringing data into underwriting, which of course is one of the big things that we pioneered back in 2017, as you know. So a lot of this has been deep admiration and respect. And then as we started to spend time with them, I think the biggest thing to me was the deep respect they had for technology and the fact that when you think of a bank M&A, people really think about, okay, we're going to go and integrate all these teams and spend all this time and make it super slow. And really the main idea is keeping Brex independently and just accelerate the growth. And we're going to integrate a few parts of the business, but the majority of it will run independently. And when you put in behind the $6 billion R&D budget of Capital One, the $6 billion marketing budget, that gets a very special combination. And I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't believe that this was the easiest and fastest path for Brex to be the number one player in our space, operating with this unprecedented scale and ambition with them.
I want to talk about other exciting areas with bringing like a Silicon Valley ethos to a larger company. How much of what you see over the next few years is like deploying AI transformation and bringing like that high energy early adoption of AI throughout the organization or any other areas, like even just marketing? There's so many different areas that you have a unique view from the founder seat in.
Oh, 100%. And look, I think the thing that about Capital One that's special is being a founder-led company is just this ability to make quote unquote, bold decisions much more aggressively than others, right? Yeah. And when you look into, for example, the engine that they've built on the go-to-market side for small business, I think it's nowhere in the world matched to the scale in which they operate. When you look into the technology and data and what they do on the credit side and underwriting, it's really sort of an N of one thing. So I think there's a lot for us to learn from them. And I think the things that we're really excited to bring to the table is, especially when you think about this space, right, and bringing financial services and software into one, it is really just AI and the direction of the roadmap that we're building as a standalone company. And now that we can, double, triple our level of investment over the next few years together, it's going to be a really unique thing to do, and just bring this capability to the millions of businesses that are already on their platform will also be huge, right? So, super, and maybe the biggest thing to say is, we're not going anywhere. I'm saying this, I think this is going to be the most exciting years of my career. Yes, we're making history here. Yeah. Super great.
Yeah, I was going to ask, are you coming for Rich's job? Are you going for the top spot? Some people want to sell, they want to, just rest. Yeah,
there's no rest.
But I know you're ambitious. I can see you going straight for the top.
We advocate for this for every acquisition. We want the founders to get inside, take over.
Look, I have immense respect for Rich. He is one of the greatest entrepreneurs of this generation. And he's incredibly private and doesn't talk a lot about he says that the story of Capital One is the book that will never be written. And there's some amazing stories there. Yeah. But just the way in which he runs the company is founder mode to the extreme. And there's a lot there that inspires us. But look, the reality is, for now, there's so much to build in the space that we're in, right? We're still Brex is 1% of the market. When we bring it together with the existing, commercial card, there's a lot more room to go. We're going to be the third largest corporate card issuer in the US. And there's a very clear path to build the most important financial platform for businesses in the country. So really excited.
What about location? I think of you as a San Francisco company. I'm sure you've expanded. I think of them as a New York company. Do I have that right? Or are they going to be like
they're mostly based
just lots of flights? Or
they're mostly based in Virginia.
Virginia.
So in DC. So the biggest thing for us is we're actually keeping Brex mostly standalone.
Okay.
And large, operating largely independent. So the idea is I remain in San Francisco. Our leadership team remains in San Francisco, and spread over the U.S.
Yeah.
We continue to hire in Brazil. We continue to hire in Seattle. We continue to hire in New York. And really, it's like, how do we add fuel to the fire? That's really the mindset.
That's amazing.
And we're going to integrate a few parts of the business that are important, like some risk management functions over time, of finance reporting and all that. Yeah. But fundamentally, the cool thing of this is, how do you play this game at a completely different level of scale and just get ahead like 5, 7, 10 years of what we would as a standalone company. And we're really excited about it.
Yeah.
Lessons for entrepreneurs, looking back since 2017, I mean, crazy ride, one of the fastest growing companies of its era. Then through COVID and ZERP, like it's been an insane roller coaster. And the last few years, focusing on just navigating through that whole process and getting to this outcome is super inspiring. But any lessons that you're taking from it, learnings?
I mean, so many, right? I think it's. I started this company when I was 21. I didn't know a lot about things in the world, and I think a lot of the journey of the company is also a reflection of the founder journey. And over the years, we've made a lot of mistakes. We've learned a lot. And I think the last 2 years, honestly, were the most challenging, but also the most rewarding years of my career, because I ran this company, as sole CEO. I have an amazing leadership team, and I have a fantastic team across all of Brex. But it was a very different game to play. And then when you see what we did on growth, what we did on the enterprise side, and the level of deals that we're winning across every single player, the majority of AI companies now operating on Brex. When you look at the momentum and the revenue growth, as well as profitability, right? It's really remarkable what the team did here over the past few years. And I think the biggest lesson is, continue to believe in the things that made you start and the things that keep you going, because there are roadblocks, right? Brex wasn't in a great place in 2023, but I just had this belief that we were not living to our fullest potential, and we could be much more as a company. And I think where we got today is first a really exciting milestone that this was all worth it. But the most important part is what the company gets to become, and just cementing Brex as a part of the U.S. financial system forever. And the fact that a company will be around, this product that we created, that we have so much conviction and belief, will be around for 10, 20, 30 years at a massive scale. So really sort of unique and emotional moment for me. I really have so much gratitude for the team we built at Brex. Some of the most talented, hardworking, smart, and kind people that I know. And that without them, like, none of this would be possible. So just immensely grateful for everyone that contributed to the journey and getting us here today. And again, we're just getting started in this new phase.
What a moment!
Congratulations.
We were joking earlier. It is interesting that you now have more common ground with Kareem and Eric over at Ramp, and that you've both sold the company to Capital One. So, but great stuff. Super inspiring, and congratulations to the whole team and the whole cap table on the milestone. And it's great to catch up.
Amazing.
Thanks for having me. Really
we'll talk
excited.
to you soon.
Cheers,
Goodbye.
Pedro.
See you guys.
See ya.
Up next, who we got? Do we have anyone in the Restream waiting room?
We got Delian.
I think we got Delian.
Coming through.
Coming in from Founders Fund. Is he available in the Restream waiting room? Let's bring him in to the TBPN Ultra Dome. Welcome to the show, Delian. How are you doing?
Just great day. Great day.
Yes.
Very excited to be here.
What are you hitting him with? No, not the flashbang. Did this hit you like a flashbang, or were you expecting this?
No, I mean, how was I supposed to know this happened? They did a good job of, sort of keeping it down low. And I want to start where it ended. Common ground with Eric and Kareem, right? There is some common ground. They both have now sold a company to Capital One.
Yeah.
There's a lot of distance between the two of them. Kareem and Eric realized it is impossible to have a significant influence on the world by being within the structure of Capital One. The only way to save customers time and money was to go out and build an independent generational company.
Okay.
Pedro somehow believes the exact opposite.
Okay.
He believes the only way for him to accomplish anything is to go into an old stodgy bank, convince them to overpay for his company by 50%, and probably accomplish nothing with the rest of his life.
Whoa. Okay, so we're not going to do any grave dancing here as much as.
Who knows? I mean, what if he does his earn out? He leaves. He starts a new company. Are you gonna sign up? You say, hey, I've backed people that have sold to Capital One before. before. I've seen this story before. His next company might be backed by you.
What if you end up inspiring him to go do the earn-out, come back, start a ramp competitor?
What if he starts a moon base with a mass driver?
Couldn't possibly
and you're just like, wow, he actually cracked it. This could happen. I don't know.
Look, as Josh Wolf likes to say, chips on shoulders, put chips in pockets. So I'm just trying
you're
to
putting a chip on his pocket. You are.
Exactly. Yeah. The thing that I'll also, sort of point out, and this is more of like a, sort of, general company building, sort of macro point, but it's an analogy that I, learned from Keith back in the day, which is building companies is a lot like laying cement. In the early days, you have the ability to manipulate it, shape it, et cetera, right? It is, sort of soft and malleable. The moment that it starts to harden, though, trying to change company culture requires like a jackhammer. It's loud, it's painful, it's disruptive, it breaks your structural, sort of integrity. And so I think the thing, I was kind of listening into, sort of Pedro's interview, and it's a little bit of a, sort of joke or quip, but it's still funny to me that throughout the entire interview, there was never a time where he really deeply was focused on how this is impacting his customers. In particular, is it going to save them time and money, right? And I think that just comes down to what the early days of the two companies were like in terms of focus areas. The early days of Brex were focused on celebrating go-to-market, celebrating basically like signing up logos, celebrating wins. I'm not saying that's like necessarily a bad thing. I'm just saying that is what the culture was. They celebrated the champagne campaign. They set up the, sort of South Park Cafe. And those types of micro decisions feed into what employees want to work on because they see what the, sort of founder celebrates versus, as you guys know, what Ramp celebrates from the get-go has always been saving customers time and money through better product, better automation, better savings. And that's what ultimately the individual employee on the line, celebrates and thinks about every single day because they see that that's what the founder is celebrating. And so I think as you see this, like, the two sides of the story basically play out, I actually think it comes down to those early cultural micro decisions. And I think companies and founders should be thinking about that a lot, even in completely unrelated, sort of categories of like, what is going to be that penultimate, sort of winning culture? When I think about the space industry, are you relativity space and you're celebrating like renders and capital raising, or are you SpaceX and you're celebrating like technical accomplishments and actually like landing rockets? And ultimately that's going to be what, sort of plays out. Relativity goes and raises $3.5 billion, never launches a rocket. SpaceX obviously launches their first rocket on like, I think $60 million total raise. So
on the question of like ramp strategy, I'm interested to hear your thoughts on like the actual structure. Like if you think about Brex and Capital One, they now have like that combined entity has a consumer business. I've pushed Glyman, get me a personal ramp card that I can pull out for my personal finances. I actually talked to some people who set up like whole LLCs just to run their personal finances through Ramp. It's like very cumbersome because Ramp does not have a consumer business. Is that in the cards? Do you think that there's a world where Ramp grows into a bank, or is focus like the actual correct strategy for now, forever? How do you see it progressing?
I think focus really matters, right? Like we have a like, sort of core ICP, which is just like, the all basically enterprises of America. And I think like there's so much more that we can do to serve our customers even better. You've sort of seen us, basically spin up, sort of Ramp Labs. And, today we just, they launched, a new version of, sort of Ramp Budget. And I think any additional energy spent on just continuing to develop next generation products, especially ones that obviously utilize AI, that is focused on the core ICP for Ramp, is a far better utilization of our time. And, to take it back to like the Peter Thiel philosophy, we believe in building monopolies, right? And ultimately anything that isn't serving that core ICP is a distraction from the potential to build a monopoly. I think what I find particularly exciting about today and about the news about Brex is that it is probably the strongest monopoly thesis for Ramp that has existed since the company's basically start. If you remember when we funded it, and it came out and launched in 2019 and 20, Amex still had like a really big, sort of enterprise business. Brex was a multi-billion-dollar company. Divvy was still super, sort of fast growing. Bill.com was still super, sort of fast growing. Expensify was fast growing. Like there were so many players in the market. You fast forward to today, Divvy basically got acquired, is barely around anymore. Brex obviously, sort of got acquired. Amex has almost entirely shifted their focus to their consumer business, right? If you look at how much of their gross profit basically comes from consumer business and how rapidly that's growing relative to enterprise, it's all the CEOs basically talking about on quarterly earnings calls. Their entire basically like, FMV basically growth over the past 3 years is entirely based on the consumer business. And so enterprise, corporate spend, card, spend management, budgeting, just the like smart
CFO suite.
The CFO suite that smart CFOs use, dude, the like field is somehow more open today than it was 5 years ago. There's less funding going into it, less like super competent teams that are, sort of focused on it. And so why would you ever like give up focus on just continue to maximize that when like, we're still only 1% of the way there. There's so much more basically to do. And so, yeah, would I as a consumer like love to have that level of power like in my hands? Sure. But like as a Ramp shareholder, why would we not give up the fact that we literally have the best monopoly opportunity since the company got started that we need to continue to go capitalize on?
Jordy, anything else?
No, I'm happy. I'm happy for the Brex team, and I think it's a great outcome. And I can also see why you are excited about this moment, simply because a lot of people probably mocked you for investing in a corporate card company when you initially led the round into ramp. Even with the quality of the team, it seemed, and like you were saying, it seemed like the cards had already been fully dealt, and there wasn't some type of greenfield opportunity. So I guess congratulations to you too.
Congratulations to everyone.
But yeah, congratulations to everyone. Honestly, like I hope the industry can just move past this kind of rivalry. It's like we're all like serving to we're all building tools to grow grow the economy. And that's something I can.
Delian's got to say something nice. Aren't you a YC founder, Delian?
September 2014, but tough.
So you're a YC founder. This is a good outcome for the YC community. Let's give it up for the YC community. Delivering returns.
Jordy and Coogan, you guys are much better people than I am. I think that's why you have much better hair than I do. I unfortunately am incapable of not being anything but like a vengeful, paranoid human being. So that's all I've got in me. And I'll say the ramp story, as you guys may know, started on Fortnite. Kareem and I playing together, seeing his brilliance. I'm happy to sort of end the Brex story and the rivalry on my favorite basically saying in gaming, which is GGWP. Easy, no RE, which stands for good game, well played, easy game, no rematch.
No rematch.
Savage.
Your nose. There might be a rematch. We'll see what the next company is. Anyway, have a good rest of your day. We'll see you later, Delian.
Cheers.
See you later, boys.
And that concludes probably the most chaotic stream of our
definitely the most chaotic. We had technical difficulties. We had flashbangs. We had
surprise guests.
A $5 billion deal get announced live. We had bootleg merch.
Bootleg merch. We had a good time.
But no, this is a fantastic moment for Capital One and Brex, and we're excited for them.
I'm excited.
So, I think that's it.
Yeah,
I think that's it. Chat. The concerning thing is the chat knows that now they can just say start spamming flashbang into the chat, and I'm not going to be able to keep it together.
Nope, it's going to have to happen every once in a while. Anyway, thank you for tuning in. Leave us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Subscribe to the TBPN newsletter at tbpn.com. We have a great show for you tomorrow. I think we're a little bit lighter on the guests, as we've been doing on our Friday shows. We'll be hanging out, bringing you the news.
Mansion section.
Doing the mansion section.
Of course.
And
we hope you have a
will
wonderful
see you
evening.
Tomorrow, 11 a.m. Pacific, sharp.
We love you.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Nice work, brothers.